Watch! I think everything's working. What's up, everybody?
Are we there?
I have no idea. We had some weird Restream updated something, and I knew there was going to be a problem the moment I logged on about like 30 minutes ago because there was this little notification. Now you can do live streaming clippings while you're live streaming. And I'm like, oh, they updated something. Something screwed up. And then I noticed the YouTube icon wasn't lit up. So I'm like, oh, I got to click on that because it kicked me off YouTube or something. And I think that created a duplicate channel or whatever. So anyway, we're here. We made it. How's everyone's weekend
Yay.
going?
Well, the weekend just got started.
Week. I meant week. I've
oh,
already started drinking, so whatever.
yeah, it was a slow week. No game this week. I really need to start running a game on alternate weeks. Right? If we're gonna do Acts 2 every other week, I need to start running game on alternate weeks. But all the
Okay.
people I want to play with are busy on Thursdays. So I'll have to figure it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There, I mean, if you wanted, I mean, I can't guarantee anything. Well, I'm not gonna. I'm in a game right now on Thursday nights. It's a hostile game, you know, Traveler,
Right,
blah
right.
blah blah. It's a lot of fun, and it's sci-fi horror weirdness. So I mean, you could totally join that if you want. I know Eric set it up to be sort of like a drop in, drop out. You play when you want kind
Yeah.
of.
Well, I'm really hoping to run a game. I have some ideas. You know how it is when I'm left too long alone and
Oh,
nobody there to tell me no.
oh,
So,
that's
yeah.
part of the reason why we have Matt and Gary's second watch in
In
space.
space.
Uh,
Yeah.
I know you've got an itch to scratch, and we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Sure, sure,
Um,
absolutely.
I just wanted to say hello to everybody. Dan, Dying Breed, Andrew, Jeff, Mike. Thank you so much as always for joining us. We really appreciate you guys. Anybody who's new here, good to see you. I see Ultra. Good to see you too, brother. Um, yeah, I hope this is a great week. Gary, I'm not going to get into the boring details, but the past couple of weeks have been crazy at my job, coupled with some of the stuff going on family wise. I finally gotten over the hump. I have been waiting to just start my weekend with y'all, and just I'm through the storm. I feel like so.
Congratulations. I hit
Yeah.
the applause button, but I forget which one it is.
Some quick news before we get into erudite. Hold on a second. Oh, hello. There we go. Oh God, please stop mentioning Gary's itch. Get the calamine. Chancellor, good to see you, brother. So some news. VendraCon, July 17th through the 19th, Madison, Wisconsin, Sun Prairie. I have yet to buy my tickets, but I will. The only reason why I haven't is that I've had an issue with setting up our room and board at North Texas Con, but I think that's finally been resolved. So I will be there running something. I think it's going to be something from the Red Room, but VendraCon's a good time. It's a small con. Venger pulls out all the stops. I mean, I think he goes broke doing it, but it's a lot of fun. Intimate setting with people who just want a game. They're not interested in lectures or anything like that. They just want a game. It's a good time, and you'll see a lot of indie games there. So if that's something you want to do, please check it out. Living Darkness Volume 1, print on demand, has been A-okayed. I'm just waiting on the proofs, and then that will be ready probably in the next month. I just want to give a shout out to Bacon, Better with Bacon. He did the layout for me and helped me get this friggin' project, print on demand, ready. It was a learning process for both of us. I know in his heart of hearts he blames himself for any delay, but the delay was all mine because I screwed up the original layout. That was all me. And I just wanted to say thank you to Bacon. I don't know if he wants to do layout work as a side gig, but I would definitely use him again. He's always apologizing. I feel like it's that scene from Good Will Hunting. I'm like, dude, it's not your fault. It's not your fault, Bacon. It's not your fault.
Some people are just like that.
Yeah.
He's a very sensitive man.
Yeah. Good dude. Good dude. So anyway,
Yeah, absolutely.
Living Darkness will be print on demand. And then finally, I want to give a shout out to Erudite DM. This Monday, I will be running Tower of the Stargazer on his channel for his crew. That would have happened this past Monday, but I had the 24-hour bug. I don't want to go into the gory details, but let's just say it was explosive. But I will be there. It should be like a 1 or 2 session game. I'm really looking forward to it. His crew and Dan is in the chat. Haven't played Lamentations of the Flame Princess before, so I am, with the exception of Erudite, he has played in a game I ran, a one shot I ran a little while ago. But I am happy to pop their cherry. I'm really excited about it. So check that out.
Hey, before we get started, I just want to say that I feel like every few days now, I'll be going on about my business and I'll have the thought, North Texas is coming up in a couple months.
Yeah.
Like it's coming, it's upon us. I am
Yep.
very excited. You, myself, DM Cloaker, Brian will be there. A lot of you guys in chat will be. Anyway, I just every once in a while I'll catch myself being like, "Oh, it's getting closer. It's getting closer." So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. I'm bummed. The James Raggy's going to be there, and his games, the pre-registration filled up like that. And he's got a couple games that he's play testing, not as crazy as the one that he play tested last year. Of course, who knows with James.
I'll get you into that game like I got you into the last Raji game. Don't
well,
you worry.
I am going to wake up midnight on April 15th and make sure I can get into one of those games. He's got one on Wednesday night, one of the pregame. I haven't even booked a flight yet, so I don't even know if I would be able to make that one. So, but we'll see. I see Mercurius, Warp Plots. Who else? I saw someone else Tim and Robert. Good to see both of you guys. Always happy to see you guys. Really appreciate it. So
Sci-fi.
Gary Lewis in space. Space Cadet.
I don't even understand why people play fantasy games. If you want the honest truth.
Oh, here we go. Good to see you, Primeval.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Real quick. Deathfrost Doom is a must-have. Even if you're not into Lamentations, this is a module that can fit any OSR system, and it will really test your players. It's fantastic. I'm really glad that you got that book, Erudite. Anyway, continue. Ground Control to Gary Lewis.
Was I saying something?
Yeah, I think you were. Said something controversial.
Did I? Oh yeah, I said I don't even know why people play fantasy games. Of course I know why people play fantasy games. And I was thinking about it earlier when I was thinking about this talk we might have and where it might go. I just want to let everybody know I love Dungeons and Dragons and my D20s and all that kind of stuff. And I'm going to say some things that might lead you to believe that I don't, but I do. I've been playing as long as anybody else, but that game is what it is. It's like only playing chess, that being the only game you play for however long. And I like other things. And probably it was either the second or third role-playing game that I played was the Star Wars D6 system. Nope, I take that back. I bounced off a Traveler one summer at my uncle's house for roughly 2 hours, maybe three, for being generous, right? Um, and it was not the experience I was looking for. Um, but I think that actually that had more to do with my uncle thinking role playing games were stupid. Uh, so yeah, but then the next one that I played seriously after Dungeons and Dragons was the Star Wars D6 system. I don't know exactly why, but we had more fun with that. It was more exciting. Part of it was mechanics, part of it was the universe. I don't know. I just liked it better. From there, I tried Star Frontiers, the anything that had a laser gun. You know what I mean, or robots
Yeah.
or whatever. So it is, as far as genre goes, it is my favorite genre. I really don't it's just space fantasy. You're absolutely right. Was it the setting, mechanics, or something else you liked? So here's the thing: the setting was, if Dungeons and Dragons is generic fantasy, right? Then Star Wars is generic sci-fi, and we all know it. We've all seen enough of the movies. We've
I
all
don't know. I agree with that, but finish your thought.
remember I used the word generic, right?
Yep.
So, uh, but it's a part of the lexicon. We all know it. So the setting is great. If you do want to run a Star Wars game, because you don't have to do any research, you know it's in your head. Um, it might have been the rule set. The D6 rule set was new. The new rules were, I think they were more exciting than just your typical, what I was used to at the time, D20 and Thaco and all that kind of stuff, right? Boo this man.
We got $2 super chat from Mercurius. Thanks, buddy. Star Wars is science fantasy, and that's why I disagreed because I think Star Wars is a little different. Um,
Well, real quick, I see people talking and everybody's changing teams and shit. Um, hang
uncouth,
on, bro. I'm
uncouth
getting
boy,
there. I'm
uncouth
fucking
boy. What are you
getting there.
booing? I'm curious. I'm
Um,
curious.
yeah, but science fiction games also work differently in
Oh, I agree
general,
with that.
right?
Yeah.
They work completely differently. It's a different play loop or whatever. I guess that's the trendy way to say it now. And I think maybe that just appealed more. But I think a month ago, 6 weeks ago, I said, "Hey, let's do a episode on sci-fi games." Um, hey, sorry, I don't mean to get distracted, but DM Cloaker is over there in our super secret Discord chat. And bro, get in here. I would love
Yeah.
for you to be in this. Don't
Yeah.
no, please be here. Please be here. All right. Uh, so I do think the mechanics had something to do with it. I think the D6 system was a bit more dynamic and you had more options. Um, so yeah, I like that a lot. Um,
I'm gonna actually. We'll get back to this comment from Tim because I think that's an interesting comment. But anyway.
okay.
Well, let me just okay. So I didn't get into the sci-fi stuff until way later. Like I was hardcore fantasy. Like I grew up. My personal appendix N was like those choose your own adventures that came out, and some of them got pulpy. Like there was one of my favorite was actually Vampire in Space, but a lot of it was sword and sorcery. I was really into the Arthurian legends. I like devoured those. Like I read uh, all that stuff. And so when I started playing D&D, that was what I was all about. I don't think I got into sci-fi until a friend of mine pulled out West End Games Star Wars D6.
Right.
But I didn't play Traveler until way later. And I think I played I'm trying to think. I maybe some like D20 modern like campaign
Yeah.
someone ran or something like that, but like I never really got into sci-fi until recently. And by recent I mean the past 10 years. So,
So I well, and sci-fi is such a weird, term. I'm typically thinking when I say sci-fi, I'm thinking spaceships, space marines, maybe a little space magic here and there. You know what I mean? Just depending on um what was that you had up a little earlier, or you said you were going to put up?
Oh, someone was talking about Fantasy Flight, and I just wanted to because we haven't gotten there yet, and but I
Yeah.
mean,
And I would I would also say that there's the other thing where for me, I think you were talking about how you were into all those myths and the Arthurian legends and everything else. I think in a lot of ways D&D that that opened the door for me to go read mythology and read those stories and watch those movies, whereas I think sci-fi was more like I was into sci-fi before I found a sci-fi role-playing game, if that makes any sense. Right? Like I really wasn't into
yeah,
fantasy until D&D came along.
yeah,
D&D.
yeah,
And I mean I like it now. But it wasn't, you know what I mean? Like I liked the game and there was like, "Oh, this is what it is." Oh,
yeah,
great, you know.
yeah. I think if someone had introduced me to Traveler around the time I got into the Red Box and Second Edition Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, and they were like, "Hey, do you want to play Traveler?" I would have played it, but I have a feeling I wouldn't have liked it because I was into all that Arthurian legend and like I read Dragonlance and all that stuff. That was
Right.
like my
I
jam.
loved the Dragonlance book.
Yeah. And
It,
I liked
and
a lot of sci-fi movies and stuff, but the stuff that really excited me was like the movie Legend, Conan the Barbarian,
oh,
all that
Erudite.
stuff.
I loved all the Heinlein books when I was a kid. Even
Yeah.
the dirty, especially the dirty ones.
Well, I didn't get into Heinlein until later, like
Yeah.
so
So yeah, so it was just one of those things. I think I was kind of already um I was already predisposed to like that. So when the role playing games came out that did that, I think that's just kind of where I
hold
gravitated
on one
more
second.
towards.
Jeff, no one's perfect.
Mm.
I
So
I
let's
love
talk
I love
about
Mothership. I love Mothership. I think it's
okay,
great.
so let's talk about some different sci-fi games because I didn't actually
Love you,
read as
Jeff.
many I didn't read as many as I wanted to, but I I went over Original Traveler, which by the way, if and all of you probably know this already, if you go to the Mongoose website, you can get all the Original Traveler booklets, but they're like $10 a pop. There is a Traveler facsimile out there that you can find that I think is like the first 6 books. I don't know. Um, and Traveler is the OSR sci-fi game. I'm convinced that Traveler was another one. It came out at the very beginning of all this. It wasn't about whether your character lived or died. It was about the campaign. Um, you know what I mean? It was there's a whole. It's a style of gaming.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And Star Wars, what's up, Brian?
What's
I just
up, Brian? How
Hey
you
guys,
doing,
it's all
man?
right. Someone say campaign. That's good.
um
We're talking about individual sci-fi games right now and what makes them different. And we're only on Traveler.
Oh wow.
Traveler. Well, and that's the thing is Traveler. I think for this audience, I think there's going to be a lot of differing opinions, but I think that Traveler overall is probably the game that's going to appeal to this audience the most, who wants to do rules as written, large campaigns, sort of grim and gritty kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
Isn't there a
That's
seventh edition that just got
I think I don't
kickstarted
know. No, it's
of
fifth edition,
travel? Oh,
and
fifth
Traveler
edition.
is
Gotcha.
kind of weird. So when I was reading it, there's the creator Mark Miller is kickstarting fifth edition, or he did kickstart it, or
Good to see you, Full Metal
whatever.
Dragon.
Um, you can get original Traveler on the Mongoose website, or really just look around and you can find like facsimile Traveler, somewhere. And then the new Traveler, I want to say I don't know what edition this Traveler is, but Mongoose has like modern Traveler, which I'm surprised. As I was reading it, it was fairly close it was fairly close to Old Traveler. There's some modernization, some cutting of corners here and there, and you don't die in character creation unless you really want to. Um, but yeah, Traveler. I think Traveler is if you're an OSR guy that likes dungeon crawling and hex crawling, I think Traveler is your sci-fi game, and maybe the only sci-fi game that you can play if you're a grognard. So
Traveler's the one I never got around to. It's actually has a little bit of a resurrection at our game store when we were doing the weekly session zeros, talking about different systems and just introducing people to different games besides fifth edition. It was funny, like Traveler guys were kind of coming out of the woodwork. It was like there's a lot of
that's
love.
awesome.
There's a lot of
yeah.
love for that game, a lot.
There is, and as I was reading it, it's funny. I didn't read through the whole thing. I perused it. I read, the character stuff. I read pretty close, and then perused the rest of the rules. It's not a complicated game, and I could definitely see myself playing or running a game like that. But it would be very, it's procedural.
Yeah.
It's not. It's not swashbuckling sci-fi.
No.
Swinging over the ledge and shit like that.
Yeah. That's actually like Hostile is a Traveler offshoot, right? Like it's built off the engine. And that was one of the big adjustments I've actually made because I haven't played a lot of Traveler. In fact, the first time I played Traveler, it was kind of a bad experience because the game master, I think I've told this story before, but he was a legit scientist. Like he was a biologist and professor or something like that. And he expected us to be scientific about things to the point where like we couldn't.
Gave you a complex. That's why you won't fucking.
Well,
this motherfucker, you need to kick this guy's ass, dude. He messed you up.
No, I like sci-fi, but it's more the subgenre stuff. So like the scientist was like wanted us to figure out how to fix our ship. And it got to the point where like day after session, we couldn't figure it out to the point where one of my players was like, can I just make a roll to figure this out? Like, can we just make a roll at this point? So, but that's not a knock on the system. That's a knock on the game master. No, I like sci-fi, but I'm more of like the gritty horror stuff because I think space is scary, and I kind of like dealing with that reality. When involved in a game, like if all of a sudden like someone stupid enough, and this happened in an Alien RPG game I was playing, he pulled out a pistol and started shooting in the middle of the freaking space station. Well, guess what happened when he missed? There was a bullet hole in the freaking wall, so there's all this explosive decompression. People were making panic checks. It was awesome, but it was also kind of, but going back to like Star Wars doesn't feel like sci-fi at all. I mean, I think it's really more of like you could take the X-Wing and just turn it into a really awesome horse breed, and you're just traveling really fast to the next place. And that's the difference between, I think, Star Wars, that science fantasy, and the science doesn't really come into play with Star Wars. Not really.
That's the friction. That's the friction point, though, right? Isn't it? Whenever
hold on now, so it's kind of one of those things. The science part of it, science just takes the place of magic. Right.
No, but not with Star Wars. Star Wars has the Force, and that's the magic. So science never comes into play.
Sure, but who cares?
I care because we're talking about sci-fi. My point is, I'm being. I see what you're saying, but I think Star Wars is. Star Wars isn't sci-fi; it's science fantasy, and that's okay. That's okay. And I think the reason why a lot of people love, especially the D6 system, is that it allows you to tell the same type of stories that you were seeing in the movies or reading in the books back in the 80s and 90s.
But I definitely agree with that. we can have this conversation forever about whether Star Wars is sci-fi or not. As far as
Well,
I'm concerned,
we got another hour and a half. I'm just
if it
kidding.
has if it has spaceships and aliens, it is sci-fi of a sort, right? Um, I don't need to prove anything to anybody. I like high adventure action stuff. You know what I mean? I don't. Um, it's that fucking movie with that redhead chick, The Arrival. Oh
Oh,
God.
yeah.
God,
Real
like
quick,
all these
Erudite,
guys, I love sci-fi. I love The Arrival and The Expanse. It's like fuck.
Expanse is great.
Get
There
the
is
fuck
Erudite.
out of here.
Erudite. There is. I cannot remember the name of the company. It's actually somewhere
Oh,
back on my shelf. It's the same 3D6 system used for the by the Dragon Age, used for the Dragon Age game. I'd love to play it sometime. But yeah, it's hard sci-fi. Well, that's the thing though. Like, what about Star Trek? Like, Barry the Gen X GM loves.
Star Trek is not hard sci-fi.
I didn't say it
There,
was hard sci-fi. What I was just turning in, like, I would not enjoy a Star Trek RPG because one, I'm not a super fan of Star Trek, and I sort of feel like you need to be. Um, but that's the game, and I've brought this up before when Ben Gibson was on. That's the game where I feel like I'm just uttering gobbledygook while trying to solve a problem in that the game master gave me. Like, oh my god, our ship dropped, stopped moving because we got hit by a proton torpedo. I'm working on the flux capacitor, Captain, as fast as I can, and the proton force distributor is, it's like, that's why I like
Isn't it?
Traveler.
Isn't it
find
funny
it-
how the genre can so easily still lend itself to that over satirical aspect where it just
well,
becomes
I find it
cartoony?
funny that in your escapism has to contain enough. Like you're fine with a fucking dwarf that grows mushrooms out his
That's
nose.
because it's fantasy.
Oh my God.
Science is rooted in reality. I mean, I think that goes to like why fantasy is so much more popular, because fantasy is like a pure
fantasy is only more popular in gaming. Fantasy is not more popular in popular culture. Not with no fucking way. You can that I can.
Well, I meant that in
spent
gaming.
an hour and a half talking about that.
I meant that in gaming.
I think the reason, and I think I've said this before, the reason fantasy is more popular than science fiction in gaming is because I think the rules that we use for conflict resolution, especially the ones we're most familiar with, if you get anything more than a D20, it can kind of slow things down and it takes you out of the game. In science fiction, you have to like, is a jetpack a vehicle or just something you wear? You know what I mean? You've got to think of all these things and there's specializations and skills. So it's a little bit more. Go ahead. The main point versus point. So to say fantasy versus science fiction is at its heart. Fantasy has its basis in chaos, and science fiction has its basis in order.
I think this is
very insightful. That's very insightful.
I think
gamers on the little something.
Okay.
Great comment, gamers video.
That's a great comment. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, welcome to the second watch.
I know. Yeah, you're. I think you're new here, or if you're.
I think you're new here.
Welcome. Yeah.
Because I'm gonna get out of here.
You just pissed
That's
off.
not true.
We need to give you a badge.
I will agree. I will agree with the assessment. I will agree with anybody who says that a lot of science fiction that we talk about is just space fantasy. Absolutely, I'm with you on that. But I do think it lends itself. I think science fiction. You can do anything in science fiction that you can do in any other game. It's just a flavor, right?
Isn't it fascinating though that systemically, so often with tabletop role playing games that try to anchor themselves to this, it's like you have to get more and more reductive to be able to, I don't want to say hand wave, but to expedite in between situations and encounters, because we do have that lack of ability to be rooted in some sort of verisimilitude. But I would take a point that I don't agree that fantasy and sci-fi, that one has had a more prominent aspect than the other. They've had very divergent paths. But I mean, even going back to the 1920s, 1930s, when you had the Clark Ashton Smiths, Robert E. Howard, like there were these. It was two very strong tendrils, science fiction or science fantasy, as it were, as a
We're gonna fight
genre.
on that hill, and I
The
agree.
futuristic genre does lend itself to all the Venn diagram subgenres much better than fantasy does. So that's where the versatility is, especially in the medium of role playing games. Is you can do sci-fi horror, you can do fantasy, high fantasy. You can do Andor is not sci-fi high fantasy. It's a very versatile medium, and dare
Yeah.
I say, even probably more versatile than traditional fantasy.
Really,
Well,
sci-fi is just kind of the window dressing on your setting, right? Like, do you have phones or communicators
I
or not?
don't necessarily agree with that.
I don't know
I'm
if
not.
I agree with that I just said. Tell you the truth, I might have just changed my
It
mind
sounded
too.
good in your head.
You just
Yeah,
disagreed with Gary. He's
It came
disagreeing.
out, and I was like, "This is gonna sound fucking
well,
great."
if a
And then I was
negative
like,
to a
maybe I don't
negative makes it a
agree.
positive, I don't know.
There's some shit like that.
Well, going back to Gamer's point there about law and chaos. Well, that kind of gets to my point where fantasy is totally unmoored from reality. You really just need a very base level verisimilitude for your game. There's gravity. If you get hit by something sharp, you'll get cut and bleed. But then you have dwarves and fireballs and dragons and all this other stuff, and it's fun and it's chaos. Science is grounded, sci-fi is grounded in the laws of reality as we in the really real world understand them, but just sort of speculating into the future on what it could mean. So there is a deeper, sharper connection to the real. And that's why sci-fi, I think, is more challenging for me. And now I'm speaking for me now. I'm a little bit more challenging to run. But I think that law versus chaos is a really insightful point. So thank you for the comment.
That was a great.
I do kind of. I will kind of agree. A little bit. It's kind of the same with fantasy too. With sci-fi, you definitely have to have rules, right? What type of space travel are they using? Right? How does this work? What's the role nowadays? What's the role of AI? What are the role of
Right.
robots? There are these things you have to take into account. I think with fantasy though, I think good fantasy has the same thing, right? Why is this religious organization with all these clerics this way? What is the source of magic here?
Freedom warp.
Say again?
Yeah, I saw
Freedom
that.
warp.
I'll give me some.
That's a good one. Erudite taking it for Gary. That's lovable. He's such a good man. Love Erudite.
Okay, here's a big mustache, brain question. If sci-fi moves and evolves, like in real life, sci-fi becomes retro, future, etc., does fantasy evolve as well, or is it status quo
No.
essentially?
Fantasy, I think fantasy has evolved, but it's been real slow.
It's splintered. It's splintered more than evolved.
Yeah, and maybe I really can't speak to it because I don't read a lot of fantasy. Yeah, but it does seem to me that fantasy, if it evolves, it's slower to evolve.
I don't know what he means by evolved in the fantasy context, because fantasy is sort of like this snapshot in time of myth and lost lore culture type stuff.
Right. So that's why it's frozen, whereas sci-fi evolves.
It feels evolutionary by the virtue of the fact that we can imagine that that's eventually an end point. That's a progression.
One of the
fascinating.
Tentacles. One of the tentacles of sci-fi was cyberpunk. Right? Like that's sci-fi, but it's completely different than Flash Gordon. You know what I mean? It's a whole different vibe, but they're both sci-fi. Oh, there goes Matt. We lost him.
So Gary,
hey, after talking about games, after Traveler.
Oh yeah.
After Traveler sci-fi game? what was your game that did you was there a sci-fi game? Was there anything other than D&D? Did you ever get
It
into a
was,
sci-fi?
yeah.
Which
Probably
one?
late 80s of all games. I found Talasaurian eventually, and so like Cyberpunk eventually that became, my arm, but it was actually cyberspace. I forget the name of the company that produced it, and it was very it was actually very chaotic. So it was a book that had just tremendous splat tables. It was essentially like Hackmaster, except for like sci-fi, and it was
Yeah.
tremendous fun. Tremendous fun. Didn't take itself too seriously, but yeah, cyberspace. I want to say it was done by a company called ICE, and it was thoroughly enjoyable. It was easy to get into. Whereas when you get to Cyberpunk became so really well defined in its subcategorization of all the archetypes, and so
Yeah.
eventually, that all the power gamers
Well,
gravitated towards. I want to play my
the thing
solo
about
stuff.
cyberpunk
So
is that if you think about like the evolution of a genre, like how old was cyberpunk when Shadowrun came out?
it's
Like
87, so maybe
years,
yeah.
3 4 years. Cyberpunk was a thing for 3 or 4 years, and then they were already crossing
William
genres.
Connors, I'm sure somebody in chat, probably one of the vets here, know that. I want to say it was early 80s. Like William Connors'
Yeah,
book was like
I'm just saying
82 or 83.
yeah, cyberpunk. I don't even know why it's sci-fi, but it is like a tendril of, you know.
But it is
So
wild because as we were talking in our little private chat earlier this week, as you've been looking back at the Age of Empire Genesis system to be able to really kind of thread and overlay a lot of the things that you enjoy facilitating, that system does work great for it because it takes into account the lack of expertise on all parties involved at the table. Like you can kind of all come to a consensus that like, okay, the numbers give us this. It's like a boons and banes.
yeah, I think system really does matter, and there's a lot of sci-fi games that people love right now. Mothership is one of them. People just love it, and
It's
I've never played it, but it's
it's
not a typical D20 system, correct?
no, it's a D100
So there,
system. It's
yeah. So there you
D100,
go.
but
I
it's
sometimes
kind
feel
of
like,
rules light. It's kind of rules light, but it's all sci-fi
yeah,
horror. And the thing about it is, space is still scary. Like, and
yeah.
it's not like sort of like hand waved as sort of like this just backdrop. Like, oh, we're adventuring in space. It's like I've been like kind of clearing out my shelves, and I'm a big fan of Free League. So for a while, I was collecting a lot of their books, but then one day I just sort of like thought to myself, I'm never going to play Coriolis. I'm just never going to. And I'm sure it's a fine game, but it's a science drama or whatever it is, sci-fi drama type game. There are rules for space and what happens in vacuum and all this other stuff. But at the end of the day, it's a game designed to tell Dune type stories. Okay. And I just know I'm never going to play that. Um, so where was I going with this? Oh, I just think that where the hell was the mechanics for it, yeah, it worked, but not interesting enough for me to get into it. Whereas like for Mothership, sci-fi horror, it's kind of in my wheelhouse. And it's just like the rules light nature of it still feels
See,
kind of OSR. So there's a lot of rulings versus like
I
Coriolis,
feel
which is a
like
little bit more.
your prime genre is horror, and it's just easier to make horrifying fantasy stuff. Maybe I could be wrong about that, but I think there's something to that.
No, I think actually it's harder with fantasy because everyone
Do
knows
you?
what a goblin is. If I would love to be in 19 being a game master in 1970s, I would make people afraid of kobolds because
Yeah.
they wouldn't know what a kobold is. I just described these little weird looking dog looking dudes, right? So I think fantasy's harder. What makes sci-fi horror really, I think, powerful is that again, you're kind of grounded in the real world, and there's a lot
Yeah.
we don't know that's out there. Like I said, space is scary, and when you encounter a life form, that latest alien television show, what the heck was it called? It wasn't very good, but there was some cool aspects to it. Like they introduced a few more alien creatures that Wayland Yutani had picked up. One was like this little eyeball with tentacles. Coolest little villain creature ever. Um
I want to see a
that's the
Jedi have
kind
to
of thing.
take on aliens, right? Like I want a Jedi on a
That's
planet.
Gonzo. It's called Chult.
Oh, I
Let's
want
get
it.
Venture Satanis in
I
here.
want that so bad.
It's so funny because I'm like such the opposite. I maybe it's the Greyhawk in me, but I like the Andor, the grounded aspect of civilizations and such in colliding against each other from sectors afar, and what does that look like in terms of dictating order across the galaxy? And
Okay,
like
hey.
I love the futuristic politics of it. So
Hey, real
Great
quick,
point, Dying Breed.
I have to get a drink, but before I get a new drink, I'm going to make a statement. I
Uh-oh.
think
Look out.
is it a spicy statement?
I
Oh,
don't
it's gonna
know.
be.
I don't think it's that spicy. It was a
No.
thought I had a while ago. And when I come back, we're going to talk about another sci-fi game. I think that fantasy games will almost never be taken seriously unless they use a D20 and the other polyhedrals. And I think science fiction games will be I don't think a good science fiction game can use that same system. I think people expect different shit out of a science fiction game. That one of the reasons they shift may be for the core mechanics. I need to
That's
go make a
actually an
drink.
I think it's a very valid point. I think
That is a good point.
mechanical chase is a very big part of when you leave an entire genre in
Yeah.
TTRPGs. You find something that you're like, it doesn't translate to
Yep.
what I'm currently doing.
Yep.
And so the sense, well, gosh, I hate to get all Trekky, but the sense of discovery of how can you achieve the same sort of goals of resolution, of the micro detailing of talent and abilities, and then finding a way to sublimate that with a world building. You probably have to be even more careful to not go, go universal, literally too soon. So I'm sure there, a lot of similar overlap of like spiral outward, the Mass Effect aspect of one planet at a time. Because otherwise it probably does become overbearing. And much like your kobold metaphor, Matthew, where kobolds are no longer mysterious, exploration of planets no longer novel because you're hopping around at one point. What's one
Yeah.
different from the other? So the planets are monsters in a way, can be, I mean, and it's like, well, what is this monster of the week? What is this planet of the week?
Yeah.
So those are interesting things when you're trying to put together something to entertain people for 5 hours with the system and the situationals. So
Yeah. I think I think part of that though is just cultural psyche, for lack of a better,
oh, totally,
and that's something completely I made up
totally.
for the purpose of this conversation. We just got used to the D20 and polyhedrals for fantasy.
Yeah, we have our comfortable anchors,
You
right?
know what I
I mean,
mean?
so
And
yeah,
that's what, and we identify that with fantasy. But sci-fi, just looking back at the 80s, and again, I wasn't playing back then, but I've been like exploring. We had Traveler, 2D6 system, right, with the bell curve. And then we had Star Wars, which is a dice pool system using D6s. There I don't sci-fi never really seemed to find its mechanic. Is that fair to say? Because it's like all over the place. And then you look at like Coriolis, the free league system, that uses dice pool, but it's not something you add together. You're looking for specific numbers in that dice pool.
there's a lot more extremism. Is very percentile based. Usually, you're dealing a lot with the percentiles more because
Yeah.
there's something I guess that just feels more scientific about the percentiles. It's a
Yeah.
percentage. What's percentage of my capacitors? Or my
The flux
thrust.
capacitor with the
So
proton. Yeah.
easier to feel grounded when you're dealing with those actual literal percentages in terms of the verbiage of the system, so it doesn't don't break my immersion. Whenever you're
Yeah.
breaking out the D8, there's not
As a
very many
kid,
successful D8 sci-fi games, I'm sure, out there.
as
Maybe
a
there's a couple.
kid,
So.
I told all my friends that I was going to run a cosmic Marvel superheroes game, where they would create their own characters, and it wound up being very like Buck Rogers, Flash Gordon.
Yeah.
It's funny. I think Traveler works because it's doing the 2d6. It's on the bell curve. It's very, it's constructed from like a war gamer's mentality, right? Those early
Right.
guys were war gamers, and that kind of fits that. And as time has gone on, things have become more dynamic, and there's so many different genres and subgenres of science fiction that you can, with Marvel, it was easy because it was like, well, fuck, the X-Men have been in space for the past year. Why can't I run a space game? You know what I mean? It was so, and it just all depends. And I don't want to get back into this, but science fiction is like, if there's spaceships and aliens and planets, it's sci-fi. Anyhow,
Have you guys taken a look at all at Stormlight or any of the Sanderson stuff?
No.
I haven't either, but a lot of people at our game store have been speaking a little bit more to it since it came out, and obviously it has its entire whole mythos and lore and logic to it. So
I need to interject
Full
real
Metal
quick.
Dragon, real quick. There isn't a D8 system at all. I would argue that, and although it is not a traditional D8, I would say the primary dice for the Genesis narrative dice
Yes.
system are
Yes.
Okay.
D8.
Yes.
Well,
RD8s.
that's not where I was going. And I don't know this for certain, but long ago when Victor Gorchev, the scrying Dutchman, was contemplating Streets of Magic, he was commenting on making a D8 system. I don't know if that's still the same. And Streets of Magic is more like Cyberpunk Shadowrun type game. But someone's trying at the very least, if memory serves. So anyway, but yeah, then you have the Genesis system. But anyway, I'm sorry.
And the
Continue.
reason that the reason that comes up is because once again, Star Wars, like the biggest space opera / sci-fi license there could possibly be. Yeah, there's a narrative dice from that system. And as far as systems go, I'm back in that hole as I was researching sci-fi games. Dying Breed disagree.
Dying
Okay.
Breed is a man of culture and education and eruditeness.
I wish you were. You should send him a link and get him on here.
Do you want to be on, dude?
Yeah, bring
Like
DBT.
I've been wanting to have him on again, but he's all like,
Send
it's
him a
too
link.
late. He's like,
wrong.
it's too late.
It's gonna be. It's gonna be. Listen.
Well, we got
it's
him
gonna be
engaged, so he's on. He's plugged into this.
Oh, he says I'm away a bit, and I may have missed. Oh, okay, never mind. That's referring to something else. I'll just send him a link, and if he wants to
send him a link, bring him in.
Yeah. So anyway,
so Gary, you were mentioning like going back to the Age of Empires system or the Genesis dice system and
Age of Rebellion, and well, here's the thing. That game is kind of crazy. I've been kind of looking up like the status of the game and who owns what, all that kind of stuff. When Edge of the Empire came out, it was a great game, but people were hacking that game within weeks of it coming out. There was a Buffy hack, there was all kinds of stuff was getting made. That system, I don't know. Because everybody has these different opinions about what sci-fi is. Anyway, it when you see it, motherfuckers. All right, let's be
Are we doing the porn,
Well,
porn statement validation?
No.
It when you see it.
Sci-fi,
sci-fi
is when
like
I think I defined it earlier. It's when you have the what is grounding your game is more connected into the real. When I mean by real is the really real world. You have more of a sci-fi game because everything that all the non-real stuff is speculative into the future, where fantasy is like this sort of frozen in time myth, cultural history, if we want to, I'm just trying to be broad enough to capture a lot of things, where anything can happen. And the only thing that really grounds it to the real is just real basic stuff.
Well,
Gravity.
we're talking sand and stars. Like it is so much easier to be grounded in fantasy, strange as it might sound.
Is Buck Rogers sci-fi?
I would say it is.
I think for purposes of this conversation,
because there's a lot of there's a lot of common ground between.
Are G.I. Joe superheroes?
No,
they're not super heroic play.
No, superheroes. It's unfortunate that we don't have a really good definition for superheroes.
All right, we can end the stream right here. War Plots figured it out. Sci-fi is when boobs and latex. Fantasy is when boobs and chainmail. Easy. Thanks.
Fuck yes, dude.
You know what? The second watch is over. We're done. Everything has been resolved.
Good night.
Thank you.
So what's the longest sci-fi campaign any of us have ever played in or facilitated? How many sessions? Gary, I'm going to give you the over on this.
I'm going to say that's really hard because we played Star Wars D6 for years.
Yeah.
But we were kids and we didn't have the internet, and we were very honest with ourselves that we really liked rolling up new characters. And I think Star Wars D6 really lent itself to that because it wasn't really designed. You're supposed to play your movie and then stop. That was really
so. In terms of an extended campaign, maybe count on one hand.
I mean, probably that Star Wars D6. Anything that happened in the past made it carried over into our canon, even if it was serialized those characters. So it was serialized, I would say, but we didn't think of that. That's just how we played it. You know what I mean? So I would say, that game, from the 80s to the 90s, off and on, and we all remember, no, remember we blew that up. Oh shit, that's right.
Do we know, does with all the different relationships and connections that the three of us have had a chance, do we know of anyone that's run an extended, I don't know if anybody that's done anything over a year.
I know someone, but it's only someone that I've met recently, that we've met recently. That's Ben Gibson. I mean, he's been running his
checks out.
But I was younger.
That was a side game, and I think Ben said that he was only going to run that for a limited amount of time. That's coming to an end.
Okay.
It's not like an ongoing D&D campaign where you're like, oh shit!
There he is. Yes, Kyle. What's up, brother? Good to see you.
When you walk down the aisle at a comic book store, can you tell the difference between a fantasy comic book and a science fiction comic book by looking at the cover?
Can you make the same statement about a TTRPG book? I think the answer is yes.
Gary, you never judge a book by its cover.
You can judge every fucking book by its cover, and anybody that tells you otherwise is just trying to play smarter than you.
No, I actually tend to agree with you on that as far as the book covers thing. But I mean, oh God, I love you, Gary. I love you, but you're so fucking wrong.
Let's do this. Let's do this, gentlemen.
Oh shit! Here we go.
Welcome to the second watch, everybody.
Yeah, welcome to the second watch. Yeah, I love all you guys, but I was out because I was like, oh, I gotta go to the bathroom and I gotta refill my liquor, and so what were you talking about exactly here?
We were talking originally, Kyle, about do we know of people who've facilitated or run or participated in lengthy sci-fi RPG campaigns? And because I would be very interested to know what some of the derailers were. I would imagine sometimes it's things like travel and vehicles and so forth, or maybe it's just that it gets so incredulous.
It's D&D. That's what derails science fiction games.
What do you mean by that? Because D&D sets expectations that sci-fi can't uphold?
Well, eventually, here's what I've noticed, and this is and this is me self-admittedly, like my favorite genre is sci-fi, right? I'll get a good sci-fi game going, or any other genre, whatever it may be.
Okay.
But eventually, I know that I'm going to be playing in a BX game, or I'm going to be running. You know what I mean? Like I know it's going to happen.
Okay. Yeah.
It's going to happen eventually.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to play D&D.
Yeah, I'm with this chick now, but I know I'm going to have to go back home to the wife sooner or later. Kind of thing.
Exactly. It's a weekend in Vegas, my brother. That is exactly what it is.
We got a quick super chat from Tim Griffin, $5. Thank you, sir. We really appreciate it. Luddite or grognard? I don't know what either means, but I prefer grognard. Me too.
I'm a Luddite, but I'm not a grognard. In fact, we've got about an hour left because I do think. Do you remember we can do it now, or not? But we had a whole show about this campaign that I was going to start. I've already got my next sci-fi campaign. I know what system it is. I know how I'm going to run it. It's been slightly influenced by the 4D guys. Probably more influenced in the browsers than I'd like to admit. I don't know that you can do 1-to-1 time in sci-fi.
Yeah, you can. Yeah. Have you ever played Original Traveler? That game is totally geared towards 1-to-1 time.
The problem about doing that, though, is the travel time. If you're 2 weeks,
which is why you have 1-to-1 time. You got 1 week. You got 1 week in stasis, right? For low birth.
It seems like it would be the most applicable medium to do 1-to-1 time.
1-to-1 time suits itself more towards Original Traveler than it does D&D.
No, I will say this. I do think 1-to-1 time would work great in Traveler. Absolutely. But I think in other systems, it may not work that well. A lot of it's just travel time.
The bros
but
position,
I think we're going to do ship time. I think is the way it's going to work.
Real quick, $10 from our boy Erudite DM. If our viewers don't know who he is, please go to his channel.
I love Erudite.
Great channel.
Give him a follow. Wine is fine, but liquor is quicker. Bam.
Yes,
thank you, sir.
Cheers.
Erudite, I'm mixing tonight, so I'm using the cheap bourbons, just so you know, so don't hate me.
So anyway, do you? I guess, but I asked. I think it's a fair question. I asked if you go to a comic book store and you walk down the aisle.
It does seem lately like it does always devolve,
like that, doesn't it?
That's what Garrett.
X should be redefined. Should be renamed 1-to-1 time. Hey, what happened on?
We're interrupting Gary. Continue.
Okay.
No, please, Gary. Okay, you go in the comic book store.
I asked this of all you guys. You go in the comic book store, you walk down the aisle and look at the cover of comics.
Okay.
You can tell the difference between sci-fi and fantasy.
Can you?
Sure. Absolutely.
I think you probably could.
Based on what? Setting alone. Setting alone. This one's got spaceships and aliens. This one has swords and a wizard. That's the only difference that you see, right?
Absolutely. And we know instinctively that one is sci-fi and one is fantasy.
Which is why the common populace believes that Star Wars is science fiction, and it's not.
No, I would call it space opera. If I were being one pedantic, I've had a few drinks.
It is human nature.
Say the word for me, Matt. Pedantic.
No, not
pedantic.
Pedantic. Pedantic. If I
Yeah.
were being pedantic about it, I would say that Star Wars and even Star Trek, which we haven't even really touched on, Star Trek is not sci-fi. It is sci-fantasy. It's some kind of, you know what I'm saying?
Star Trek is closer to sci-fi than Star Wars is. Star Wars is just fantasy and a science.
I disagree.
What? No. Okay, I want
the
to
only
highlight
reason
something.
it's closer to
I'm not even a Star Trek fan, dude.
The only reason it's closer to real
something.
sci-fi is because all their conflict is fucking cerebral. And you gotta
Atomic
think about it.
Snack
It's still all
posted
die
something
roll.
earlier. Atomic Snack posted something earlier. My definition of science fiction follows the test. If you remove the science fictional elements, can you tell the same story? If not, it's not science fiction. Star Wars could be told with samurai, and I agree with that.
How do you
Well,
blow up a space station with fucking samurais who
You
don't have
blow up the
spaceships?
Ado,
You blow up the castle. You blow up the
Are we
wall.
going to talk Kurosawa now, gentlemen? I
You-
mean,
you blow up the
he's
wall-
absolutely right. He's
You blow up the wall of
absolutely
China or whatever,
Oh,
right?
I fucking hate
Star
this
Wars is-
talk. Fuck y'all.
Absolutely.
No.
you asked
This
for
is-
it.
No.
No, I want to talk about sci-fi RPGs, and now we're talking about. Listen, I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. It's the elements and this and that. And I went to school and you didn't. But the fact of the matter is this:
I don't give a shit
We
about your
all
schooling.
we all know if there's a spaceship and an alien, it's fucking sci-fi.
No.
If there's a goblin and an axe, it's fantasy. It's that simple. It's
No,
that
To the filthy
simple.
casual, yes. My wife would absolutely
Thank you,
agree
Brian.
with your definition.
Fucking
She would.
asshole.
She would agree with the definition if she sees.
You
Oh
fuck. Oh my
no,
god.
it's
Oh,
dude,
but
it's
Have
fuck.
you ever
right.
just wanted to
He's
walk
right.
through a room and
He's
slap
right.
fucking everyone?
I'm just,
It is. It's fucking marketing, Gary.
Yeah.
It's fucking marketing.
yeah, to the filthy
Listen.
casual. It is.
Star
All
Wars
I'm
is
saying, Star Wars,
Star
is
Wars
not the
is-
same if you replace the Millennium Falcon with a dragon that you can fly to another kingdom. It is not the same. It's not the same.
why. Well,
I-
you can't do that because you
Because
could carry
the-
passengers
because
and
the-
store
be-
shit and smuggle
Well,
shit.
there's-
But let's
there's
say
the practical technical game shit, but there's also you can't tell me there's nothing to the imagery. There's nothing to the everything that goes with it. You're in a big machine, which is very different than being on a fucking dragon. You're going to another fucking planet, which is different than flying across the pond to another
Is it
country.
any different than boarding an airship and traveling to a completely different continent on
I will
the
have
fantasy
you know that
world?
I've never had one of those pussy ass fucking gnome airships in any of my D&D games, so I wouldn't fucking know.
It's not about you, Gary.
No,
All right.
it is about me tonight. We have all decided. Welcome
So-
to the second watch,
Well,
Diane.
yeah. It's good to see you. All right. I
You'll
think
fit right in over here.
well, okay. I actually agree the context, the comment that I highlighted, because again, it's about how rooted your game, your genre, your whatever is in with the real.
There you go.
I'm starting
Well-
to sound like a broken record. Fantasy just needs the bare minimum rooted in the real, and then you go into all this myth, all this other magic and
Yeah.
whatever. Where science fiction, we have to believe that it's possible. Fantasy is possible. Fantasy is not possible. Fantasy is what we would like it to be.
Right.
Science fiction is about the possibility. Gene Roddenberry, God
I
bless
think-
him, was hoping we would have this utopia, right? But it was all about what was possible, and
We
the
do.
possibility
Real quick,
is rooted
quick.
in no. Let me finish,
Hold
and then
on.
you can be real quick. And the possibility is
The
rooted in
lawyer comes out.
no. It's
No.
not. This is just-
Objection, Your Honor.
I have yet. No, he's the one objecting. I'm just kidding. I'm not done. My point is, my point is, the possibility is rooted in science facts. So we have to be able to believe warp
Sure.
drive is possible. We have to believe that teleportation is possible. With fantasy, we have warp drive. It's called Dimension Door. We have
So-
warp drive. It's called teleportation.
I
We have
get
all
that.
that stuff, but the difference is how it's conveyed and how it's through
Right.
how it's
And-
rooted with the real. And all due respect, when I watch Star Wars, and I love Star Wars, that's why I'm so upset with what Disney's done with it. I just see a fantasy with space travel. And if I
So,
take away the space travel
I'm gonna
and put
give you
in
that.
camels
I'm gonna give you
across the
that, but
desert,
I think there's
or
a difference that you're
an
not.
airship
I think
across
there's
the-
something. I think there's a factor that you're not looking at. I think the science fiction, when you say this is science fiction, I think what you're talking about, if you really think about it, you're talking about humanity in its early stages of space travel. And when you look at something like Warhammer or Star Wars or anything like that, these are ancient technologies to the point where maybe they don't even know how the science works, but they know these parts do these things, right? So while I get that, I understand what you're saying, and the science is so important. I think if you're looking at early humanity in space, sure, that's important. But when you're looking at an ancient civilization that humanity's been a part of since before memory, right? At that point, the technology can become nothing more than just the parts you need to make sure it all works.
But how is that different from something like Hyperborea, where you
It doesn't
have
matter.
these ancient? No,
It
but
doesn't.
it does
It
matter.
doesn't matter because the
Hyperborea is
elements.
fantasy, but there's these
Understood.
sci-fi elements
The
that are
difference being is,
considered
I think
magic.
the
No,
connection to
because
the
my
real
point-
and science fiction, like you were talking about, is not necessarily through the technology all the time. It can be through, if you look at the prequels, like in Star Wars, that was very political. If you look at like Battlestar Galactica, you're looking at what does it mean to be human. So a lot of these questions aren't always that we're talking about that define science fiction are not always in the everyday tech. If you look at
I would agree
Dune,
with
which is
you.
decidedly science fiction,
Yeah,
those technologies are, in fact, not only are those technologies incredibly old, but humanity's evolved to the point where they don't need the technology anymore. I think
But-
what you're looking for is a base description of how and why. And if you don't have that base description of how and why, it's unbelievable to you. Star Trek is only more hard science fiction than Star Wars because they came up with fake names for their shit.
I
Well,
think it's more than nomenclature.
I think
it's more than
that,
nomenclature.
and I just want to point out because you made an interesting point about how far in the future they are, but there does come a point where it's so far in the future that the speculation becomes untethered from the real. All right, and I would argue, and this is going to get me in trouble with people, I think, I would argue Dune is just Game of Thrones.
Well, I would argue Game of Thrones is just Dune. First
Well,
off,
whichever came first. But the point I'm trying to make
we
is
know
it's
which one
just
came
fantasy.
first.
It's just
Pistols
a fantasy
at
story.
dawn.
It's just a fantasy story, and the science or the fantasy. Actually, let me rephrase. I'm going to rephrase.
I don't agree with
I'm going
that.
to rephrase. It's not
I don't know,
fantasy. It's
man.
not sci-fi. It's a political story.
No,
Who cares?
I don't.
if
Well,
it's
no,
fantasy or
I
sci-fi?
don't know. It's much deeper than that. But
Oh,
what I would,
but
what
it
I
has
would,
nothing to do with the science. It's so far into the future.
It has
we
everything
don't-
to do with science.
but I think
Frank Herbert set out to produce a work that was true science fiction, meaning it encompassed all sciences. You had ecology, you had biology, you had physics, you had every fucking science you can think of, psychology, which was a kind of a burgeoning science at that time, right? Or at least in late stages
It
of
was.
burgeoning.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I mean,
It's
it
not
was
a science.
It's because the
You
only
fucking
the only
Republicans.
series of books that I personally believe is greater than Dune as far as actual science fiction, which I'll get to when I get a chance if Gary ever stops yelling at me.
Welcome to Second Watch, bro.
Is Foundation by Isaac Asimov,
Ah,
Yeah, I actually
and not the shit
should read
show
Yeah, I agree with you.
TV show
Yeah.
that they did,
Word,
but the actual
word, absolutely.
book or series.
Here's the thing. I hate that we've wasted so much time with this fucking
No, it's not
when it
wasted.
comes to this
It's not
topic,
wasted. It's
when
not
it comes to
wasted.
science fiction. But I do believe, especially if you're talking about role-playing games and you're talking about having people at the table, I think the general expectations when you say, hey, we're doing a sci-fi game is not fucking Arrival or 2001. I think the expectation is Star Wars to Star Trek. They
Why not
expect
2001?
spaceships
Why not
because
2001?
it's fucking boring. That's why.
Is
It's
it?
a great. Yeah, well, if as a role playing game, it is absolutely.
What, going
Fuck yeah!
against a
You've got one
crazy
good.
AI?
Don't make me get in this. You got one good encounter in that fucking movie when he's trying to outsmart Hal. You
You ever
got one
play?
good encounter in that movie. Don't even get me. Oh my god! I witnessed
I'll
that
no, I
movie.
know. I'll grant you that. I'll grant you that, Gary. It's
Yeah,
not an exciting film until that point.
and role playing game to me
Until Hal
expects
won't open the pod
conflict.
bay doors, it's not an exciting movie.
But it
No,
probably
I
would
didn't
be
say it wasn't. I didn't say it
the
was a bad
most
movie. It's a beautiful
entertaining.
movie, but
It probably would have been the most entertaining one-on-one game.
Oh, Brian coming in with the freaking left hook. Yeah, maybe. I don't play
I gotta
games like
pee.
that, but
I do too. I'll be back.
see, here it is. Okay, Brian, you have something important to say, and they all leave.
I don't have anything important to say. You
No,
know what I
I'm just
mean, though,
kidding.
right? I mean, if you and I've run my share of one-on-one games, mid-campaign or to introduce and so forth. I bet you, if you were playing 2001, the role-playing game, and it was just you and one other person, it'd probably be incredibly engrossing and
But
entertaining
not
and
even.
challenging.
But if you think about it in terms of like a dungeon crawl,
Sure.
you're going through a starship that's been overtaken by an AI that has control over everything, and it's communicating with you, right? Just, I wouldn't do that if I were you, right? Um, what do you have? You have the quintessential funhouse dungeon
Sure.
as they're going through, and the AI is doing crazy things every time you walk into a room. Like, that could be fun for a party. Like,
It could be, yeah. It
you know
reminds
what I
me,
mean? So,
there
like,
was
I don't think, I mean, thinking in generalities is fine, but let's put it in brass tacks. Like, 2001 could be a really interesting adventure module.
It reminds me, there was, and I ran it a few times, and I want to say it was out of Realms of Terror, the supplement. I think it was like 1994, 95 Ravenloft, and it was called the House of Lament. And the House of Lament was this entire sentient house that you get trapped in, and the house is the one that's basically running all the action, and you're trying to uncover and detailed story. It is fascinating that, yes, Gary and Kyle both left at the same time. This tells you that they're ready to, they're going and getting their boxing gloves. They're getting ready. They're
Yeah,
doing a little
yeah.
shadow boxing by the fridge right now. They're getting warmed up, and they both come back at the same
At the
time.
same time. Uncouth, I
They're
only
going.
use dungeon crawl as sort of like a broad kind of sort of category of, think about it in terms of you come upon a ship, it's adrift, you dock, and then you find this AI that's going crazy. Whatever the scenario is. I just mean that sort of like a general sort of thing.
Matt, I wanted to touch base back on one other thing that you said, though, that I thought was really kind of insightful as a reason why there is such a separation between the fantasy and the sci whatever. Uh, with fantasy, so much of it is just rooted in myth.
Yeah.
It's just the myth of the thing, and the myth of the thing is its own allure, its own draw. Whereas sci whatever, horror, frontier fantasy, or whatever it might be, that exploration is such a unique aspect of it, because it's not necessarily grounded in a shared commonality of wisdoms and faiths and so forth until you
Yeah.
find them.
Yeah.
Until
Yeah.
Kirk lands on the planet.
There's an element of the unknown, right, in that speculation, and that's where sci-fi horror resides. So we can speculate into like what's out there based on our common understanding of science, right? And then you encounter something that challenges that, and then you're like, oh crap, what is this? And that's where fear resides, and that's where I like that's where I like sci-fi horror the most. Like, we've encountered something, we think we understand the universe, we're so great, we're interstellar, blah blah blah, and then all of a sudden, bam,
I think
what is
also I
this?
found out why there has been such a failure for this genre to really stay solvent as a game. think about how much we're all sharing a lot of differentiating views, and think about, boy, if that's at the game table, like trying to create consensus, a shared consensus at a table
Yeah,
of
that's a good
5 or
point.
6, and it makes it an interesting question. What is needed for a sci-fi RPG campaign as a player or as a GM to be successful long term? Like, what are the derailers? What are the things that make this either such a, I don't know, I want to say a heartbreaker, or such a rare unicorn to find in the hobby?
Well, first off, system matters. System really does matter when it comes to playing anything other than fantasy. I think one of the reasons Star Wars D6 was so popular was because it was dynamic. There was a lot going on in that dice roll, and it's fun to roll a lot of dice. You know what I mean?
So you think the pool system and the force die? I think that's what it used to have. It used to have like force D6.
I think
The
for
force
that particular system, yes. And I think so. We've talked before that a lot of the games that we like right now have something in the mechanics that really reflect the game world or
Well,
the mood of the game or whatever. And I think so. Go ahead, man.
I don't think it was the mechanics specifically. I think it was the fact that when you get down to brass tacks on Star Wars, it is pulp fantasy in space. And the mechanics are important in West End game Star Wars, but they are only important because they promote pulp fantasy in space.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, you can't. I don't think you could take West End Games D6 dice pool system, Star Wars, and run anything remarkably similar to Ridley Scott's Alien with it.
Isn't the alien system have an inversion aspect or a stress or strain? I'm trying to remember the free league. So
I don't really know, to be honest with you.
When you encounter something horrible, blah blah blah, you get a stress point. The stress point adds a die to your die pool, but that particular dice is a different color, and if it rolls a 1, you panic. So the more stress you have,
so the force die was a different color, right? Right, Gary? Wasn't the force your force die was that a different color?
I forget what it was. Was it called the
Western
force
Games?
die? But you would do a different. You would do 1d6 that was a different color, and if it came up a 6, that would be like a critical. Or
so there's some
like
lineage here. There's some connective tissue.
Oh, that's interesting.
With the pool system.
Absolutely.
Yeah, with the pool system and the
it's
inversion
funny
of the.
Because as you know, like I said, it was a month ago. I said let's do a sci-fi game, so I went over and perused. I perused a lot of old rules, and I went back and looked through the D6 rules, and then that made me think about the stress rule and aliens. And it's funny when I was looking through like combat and space combat, even the narrative dice system, the Fantasy Flight Star Wars. It didn't necessarily pull mechanics, but it pulled concepts. These things that were inherently sort of Star Wars. It pulled over and translated into their mechanics.
Is technology and vehicles the separators, the grand? I'm sorry, Kyle, because I always find that seems to be, at least for me, whenever I've played, technology and travel, spaceships usually always be. I don't say where the rubber meets the road, but definitely.
Here's where I think science fiction games break down is I think very few of them, when you play a science fiction game, you expect to have some fights in starships or in fighters or something like that.
Right.
And those rules tend to be fairly convoluted, and not a lot of people have gotten them right. Vehicle rules, I think we can all agree that vehicle rules are typically a secondhand thought.
That's a whole episode on its own, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
That would be, right?
Yeah, it really is. This is going to be a recurring theme over the next few weeks of the show, probably. But right now, my favorite vehicle rules are actually from Star Wars narrative dice, because it follows. It's not a different system so much as it's a layover of the combat system, right? So you just have different actions that you can take inside a ship.
Sure.
Then there are actions you can't take if you're not in a ship or a vehicle. You can't fire a ship's gun. You can't use your gunnery skill. You're not going to steer. But that's really the only difference.
God, I
and
feel like we're talking about pirate games now. I feel like we're talking about naval combat and ship-to-ship battle.
Yeah.
And just
Well, it
raw
really is, Brian. I
It
mean,
is,
that's really the
absolutely.
thing. I mean,
So,
you get into
Kyle,
naval war games.
I don't disagree with you that in so many ways these are identical themes. But I do think that the skin we put on them, the dressing and the clothes that we put on these things, the images that we attach to our games, I think matter. I think it informs. Because in my mind and in my soul, I would rather have a Millennium Falcon, which to me is like a fucking spaceship muscle car, just fucking powering through space, picking up chicks, doing odd jobs and dirty deeds, and going on about shit.
It's the 1970s Chevette.
Exactly.
Of spaceships.
Whereas
right?
in fantasy, like riding a dragon, well, fuck, I'm on a dragon. I guess I'm pretty powerful now. I probably have a kingdom. You know what I mean? It brings with it a whole other set of.
Let me ask you a question, Gary.
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to ask you a question here. Do you? Let me finish before you start yelling at me. Okay.
All right,
well done, Kyle. Good to get that out there right ahead.
If I could mute him, I would.
And he knows him so well. And I don't want to step on Brian because I know he's got a lot to say too, and he's got a lot of insight. But
you go, brother.
Do you? It's gonna be a 2-pointed question. So number one, do you think that you could play a sci-fi game using D&D mechanics?
No.
Do you think you could play a fantasy D&D type game using West End game Star Wars mechanics?
No.
Why?
I agree. Well, first off, D20 games, there's a certain spot at which the D20 kind of gives out. It's a numbers game.
Real quick, we got a $1 super chat from Atomic Snack. There's no comment. Just want to say thank you.
Thanks,
awesome,
man.
Dude. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Snack.
We're $194 away from me buying the direct interface for my guitar into the mixer, so you guys can enjoy my guitar musings.
Oh gosh, here we go.
I don't know.
Go back to Kyle's question.
Matt,
Go back to
I'm
Kyle's
not
question.
sure if you're aware of this, but I did tell everybody if we got $200 in super chats that it was for something. Anyway,
and for the audience out there, I set this up as a Socratic dialectic because I think we'll get to the heart of the matter right here.
I think science fiction games. I think the D20 breaks down. I think it's a numbers game. I think it breaks down at a certain point. And you have to make certain rules allowances for it that I think are perfectly fine and probably would work well. But I think it would add a layer to the game that would make it a little bit bulky and kind of gross. Can you play fantasy with some other system, non-D20?
No. West End Games.
Oh, the West End Games D6. You cannot play a traditional fantasy game, but I do believe you can play a game in the fantasy genre. I've been thinking about this a lot this week. You're catching me on a strange week. And the reason I say that is because
I don't disagree.
I think the things that separate Dungeons and Dragons, especially Dungeons and Dragons, whatever early editions, the OSR stuff, is the weight given to timekeeping, encumbrance, distance and movement, all these,
resource management.
Resource management, all of these. It's a different game. It is a role-playing game designed by war players, and Gary Gygax was a fucking accountant. All right, it is a different kind of beast. You know what I mean?
He was a war gamer. Correction. I know he was an accountant, but he was also a war gamer, and all those things mattered for wargaming, and
they did for wargaming.
Well, for a sandbox, gritty sword and sorcery game where you delved into dungeons and whatnot. It was like a perfect storm of concepts and whatnot.
I do think I could. I do think it. I will say this. I think I could run a game in like a sci-fi genre with D20, but I think the limitations of the D20 would show themselves a lot quicker than the limitations of D6 and fantasy.
Good to see you, Zarian.
I want to hear what Cloaker's thoughts are on this.
I don't want to say it's a disagreement. I think maybe it would.
Of
I would
course,
just,
it's a disagreement.
I would probably say it's more of a just a alternative perspective in that it depends, right? It depends on your table. It depends on what everybody is gathering for to accomplish. So, like, if you want to go with just like, what was the master's Professor DM video? It's just like you only need to know these 4 numbers and so forth. Like you can accomplish a sci-fi or science fantasy or any sort of IP overlay veneer. If that's what you and your table are looking to accomplish, if you want to get granular, if you want to get absolutely down in the weeds, you can do that as well. I can use the Marvel superheroes, face rip system. I can accomplish it with that. So if you have a shared vocabulary, and it's what makes our game successful at the table, long term, not short term. Short term, you can probably run anything with anything because no one's expecting much of it. But if you want to have a campaign, if you want to have, like, oh man, I did this for 12 months, I did this for 18 months, I have a 24-month, et cetera, et cetera. It depends on your table. So you could probably, I would take the Pepsi challenge. I would take the Pepsi challenge that I could run a West End game system with a table. Provided that we're all in agreement that this is how the resolution aspect is worked, and or I could use a D20 system. I have used a D20 system to do a great product that just kickstarted, came out. I'm gonna have a chance to really put my money where my mouth is with Dark Space, because Dark Space is anchored to the Shadow Dark system, and there is a lot more than I anticipated that went into the vehicles. Like I'm pretty impressed with that product right now. And I've got the PDFs, but I'll be more qualified to answer this question probably this time next year. But
real quick, I got to interject for a couple of reasons. The first is a super chat, which I'll talk about in a second. But number 2, Dark Spaces been on my sort of periphery. Should I pick it up? Should I not?
I think you should pick it up.
Hearing you say that, because I know you're a Shadow Dark guy and you've been doing a lot with the Shadow League that's coming up and all that stuff, that says a lot. So I think maybe I will put it on my to purchase list. Okay, interesting.
Matt, what are your thoughts on this?
Oh,
you've heard Brian, you've heard Gary, you've heard me. What do you think?
Let me just address the super chat real
sorry.
quick.
Sorry.
No worries. Atomic Snack, $5. Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. Space combat. The hostile rules are pretty good. We only had one space combat, but it was very tense, and all the players had something to do. I have a story about space combat and hostile that I'll mention. If
is this where you don't like to lose?
Yes, it's my Kobayashi Maru
I
story.
love that story. Tell it, brother.
All right, I'll tell the story. So in my buddy Eric's game, he's been running this hostile game, show up if you can kind of thing. We're all part of like some mysterious group, and we do work. We're mercenaries, yada yada yada. But our ship is called the Ticket to Midnight, and it does not, at least when we started the campaign, had no freaking weapon capabilities. And we ended up pissing off some freaking group of mercenaries, bandits or whatever. And as we were leaving a planet after completing a task, they attacked us. I loaded. My plan was to load an escape pod full of explosives, and as they were coming at us, instead of us running away, we went towards them. And the last minute, we took a 90-degree turn and launched the escape pod at them. I was successful, and there was a big kaboom. and disabled the ship. We then got on one of our boats and went over, boarded the ship, killed everybody on board, took control of the ship, looted it, took their pirated materials, and made a shit ton of money off of that as well. Yeah, that was my Kobayashi Maru moment. I was like I was like Captain Kirk. I was biting into an apple. I don't like to lose, you know. So, so yeah,
I absolutely love that story. I can never hear enough of it. I love it every time. I love it every time.
So
Matt, when you said the word money, resources came to mind also. I bet that this is also a little bit of a friction point with these sort of games. Is you have 11,000 credits and transfer, because at some point our understanding of technology retroactively or proactively sometimes can break that immersion. Gary, you were mentioning about the 4D premise there, and there are these things sometimes that maybe a system has, or a setting, or the IP has, that we know are just kind of they create these little micro doubts. And sometimes when you are playing with people that are trying to achieve that sense of shared engagement agency in the fiction, like when you see the little micro doubts start to kind of pepper through, and you're like, yeah, I just don't know how this works, or oh, I don't know, like, wouldn't they have done this with this, having that technology back then, and I guess managing wealth, it's no different. It's probably one of those things that's similar with, what do I do with all this gold? What do I do with all these credits?
Yeah.
It's,
Well,
so
the other thing, with sci-fi and sci-fi games is that experience shouldn't be tied to money.
ooh, we're talking some good topics here. Yeah. So
I mean,
advancement, what
that's
does
it.
good
That's the thing,
advancement
is
look like?
everything is different.
It's discovery, right? I mean,
It's
really should be
all
discovery.
it's all
I
different.
would love a game, and this is something and this is actually, I take this very seriously, not just in sci-fi but also fantasy. I've been told I love the exploration aspect of both sci-fi and OSR fantasy gaming. I love going out into the unknown and seeing what's in that hex, right? Whether I'm a player or a game master. Like when I was as a game master, I get excited because what are my players going to do with this? What am I going to do with this? I would love to create incentive for players to explore. Like, so what do you do? Right? I've been tinkering with an idea, and I don't want to derail this conversation too much, so I'll just be brief. But what would happen if the players knew we need to map this area? And if you map this area, you'll get XP for each hex you map. So you go, and that creates an incentive, right? So they go around the hex map. Like, why hasn't anybody done anything like that? Like, and to me, in sci-fi, when you have, let's think Star Trek, boldly go where no one has gone before. Like, you have an entire sector, parsec universe. Like, why not connect? Why not make that the reason for character advancement?
Stars without number.
I'm sorry.
I
I want to zag for a second. I'm sorry. I just want to zag because it's so often that we're going to go back to the stalwarts of discussion in this, like all the big IPs or all the big.
I'll be back.
Like, that was so cool what he just did. Did you see his zoom out?
Yeah.
That's dope. That was dope,
Dude. He's from Nerd Cognito. They're like,
oh, okay, they're pros.
Yeah, yeah.
So for a
Not
moment,
like us.
I think of something like, okay, let's change a little paradigm for a moment. I don't know if you guys have watched a lot of Black Mirror, but USS McAllister. All right, I would argue that constitutes straight up a science fiction. It's not, because there was Erudite had something, I want to say it was Erudite. He said that it always comes down to investigation, exploration, acquiring money, or killing baddies. I think you could do any of Shakespeare's 7. Any Shakespeare 7 can still work. You can do comedy, you can do tragedy. What you can do. The Voyage and Return is probably the most common of Shakespeare's plots. Overcoming the monster, no doubt. Rags to riches, the quest. So all of those 7 plots can work. they can all work with Galaxy Quest, Sigourney Weaver and Tim. Like that could be a thing. Like these are. So I don't.
Hammer, you shall be avenged. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, but I it's certainly one of those things where if we sometimes take into account how science fiction always was a way of telling current events in a different context, our games, we do that with historical games.
Well,
We do that with mythos and transplant.
I was thinking earlier about, like, I was going through drive-through and just looking
that-
at different games and comparing like fantasy games to sci-fi and all that. And there's a lot of things that I would consider sci-fi. Like Paranoia is a science fiction game at its core. It doesn't deal with, like, you may not be getting technology and stuff, but it is a high technology, kind of environment, totalitarian. It is, if there were a book called Paranoia, it would be in the sci-fi section. Sci-fi encompasses more. It is the genre itself is so broad, right? You can do anything with it.
Is this
Whatever it
why,
is
though,
you
a
wanna
game
do.
system is so hard to pin down for this that has been
Yes.
everlasting?
Oh yeah,
I mean, we have not found that
Absolutely.
everlasting
That's
resolution.
why I
and I
think
think that's
I
why
think-
fantasy gaming will always be more popular than sci-fi, because you have what Gary Gygax and Dave Arneson laid out before us. The polyhedral dice, right?
sci-fi.
I was thinking, like, the
here's
Zaki-
the
like
thing.
the
I got
Zaki-
some shit to say. I've
Oh,
been.
shit.
I knew this
Go
was going to come up. I'm about to piss a lot of people off because what I see.
So it's
is-
Tuesday.
Yeah, right. What I see is
So it's a day
pile of-
ending in Y.
I see a pile of fucking games that are 2 sentences different than BX or OD&D or whatever. And I see all those folks being like, this is the only way to play except for their fucking house rule. And science fiction games, I think, are really kind of, that's the place where it's okay to experiment. It's okay to get kind of crazy with shit and do things.
Wait, I'm
Right?
sorry. You say sci-fi games is okay where experimentation happens?
Yes. And I think
Lamentations
fantasy
of the
games-
Flame Princess just entered the chat.
Lamentations of the
Okay.
Flame Princess.
No.
is fucking BX with a few
Get the hell
alterations.
out of here. No.
It's a bunch
Every-
of old
dear.
people
Here we
who
go.
create their own shit, riding the coattails of a bunch of
no,
dudes who are dead and never got paid.
I'm going to mute you.
Everybody
I'm
thinks they're
mute
going to
it.
make a living when
Click,
all the originators
no,
of this died
no,
fucking poor.
No.
Here's the thing. It is the same fucking shit.
You're wrong.
It is modifications on the same idea.
Wrong.
It's the difference between a pink and a purple fucking dress on your baby doll.
Wrong. You're wrong.
Gary, you're saying modifications are the only differential. It's just trade dressing. That's all it is. Trade dress.
I'm saying that the majority of yes. Look, dude, if I
Majority of
can
what?
write a
Majority of what?
module and put OSC on it.
I'm
right?
not talking about OSC.
And
I'm talking about
everybody-
Lamentations of the Flame
hold
Princess.
on. Hold
No,
on.
don't
And
hold on, 'cause
everybody
you're talking
knows
about
that
the
you
wrong
can use
thing.
it for all of these games. You can use it for this. You can use it for that. You can use it. There's 1,000
Oh my
different games you can use it for. All I'm saying is that this is that.
Okay,
anyway.
no. Okay, so what I mean by Lamentations has entered the chat, I'm saying is everyone who has written for Lamentations of the Flame Princess has pushed the fantasy genre and the BX system to its limits. They are hardcore experimenting. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it doesn't, but they are pushing. It's not like some all due respect.
The
So is
same
D6. So is
system.
get out of here. Get out of here with the same system crap. Sci-fi hasn't been able to find a system because no one can freaking define it properly, which is the catchphrase of this goddamn live stream. My point is, Lamentations of the Flame Princess is experimenting with the fantasy genre and is experimenting with BX. You cannot disregard it. You
Because it was
cannot.
years ahead of Expedition to the Barrier Peaks.
So
And
I
also,
want
wait
to
a second.
address something that came
Go
up
ahead.
earlier.
Go ahead,
Okay.
Kyle.
That was
Address
maybe a
it.
punch.
You talked about campaigns and
I love you,
who
Gary.
who has
Dark
had
humor.
like long-term sci-fi campaigns.
You're an asshole, but I love
I-
you.
Go on,
What an
Kyle. Let them
asshole.
have their moment. They're okay. They're bonding. This is
No,
what they do.
It's okay. It's okay.
This
Okay,
is
I
how
mean,
grown men
Go
show
to the
love.
campaign question. Go to the
Fuck
campaign
you.
because I think that a lot of our answers are rooted there.
Yeah, I do too, Brian, which is why I'm going to bring this up because Gary talked about, lengthy sci-fi campaigns. Do you know of any, Gary? Because I don't.
Not a lot. No,
Right.
not a lot.
Why? Because that's not what people desire. Right. Ultimately, at the end of the day, what we're talking about here is what people want out of a game. Now, I disagree with you in the fact that I will agree that using D&D mechanics to run a sci-fi game probably isn't going to work that well. You can always force a round peg into a square hole.
Right.
I think I could run a hugely successful fantasy campaign using West End Games D6 mechanic from Star Wars because it's pulp.
Word.
It is pulp fantasy at the end of the day. That's
It's a good
all
distinction.
it fucking is.
It's a good distinction.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you want to run a pulp fantasy game, you can do it all day long. You could run Conan, you could run whatever.
But you miss the conventions. This is the issue, is the conventions of gameplay. You miss things like the dungeon crawl, the 10-minute turn, which is more important than people think. You miss the hex crawl. It's
That's
not,
only important if you're talking about D&D.
well, what I'm saying though is if you're going to run a fantasy game using D6, I think you're correct. You can run a really successful game.
Okay.
But you are going to lose those conventions of fantasy play, right? Like I think the hex crawl is important.
You're going to lose
fantasy
the
play.
conventions of D&D.
Sure.
And I think that maybe you might be confusing fantasy play with Dungeons and Dragons. And they're not what I want to say. They're not dependent on each other. They're not necessarily the same. Does that make sense?
Sure. But I do think
No. I mean,
fantasy
don't
gaming-
sure like you're
it does-
patronizing me. I mean,
no,
I mean,
I'm not
seriously.
patronizing you. It makes sense to me. But I do think that Dungeons, the basic formula of the Dungeons and Dragons game and fantasy kind of, I think they go together. I don't know.
Well, that's because for 50 fucking years it's been the standard.
Right.
And so it's hard for anybody, including myself, who's been playing for 40 years, bro. To see beyond that fantasy role-playing games can be something other than Dungeons and Dragons, but it's entirely possible.
Do you think this genre holds up? Somebody's sound just got really fucked up, by the way. It's like hissy and say
Yeah, I
something,
hear it.
Matt.
Is it test
Matt,
test?
Oh,
say
yeah, no, I
something.
hear it too. I don't know if it's.
Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3.
I'll mute
Not
my
me.
mic and see if you hear it.
Yeah, I don't know. Who knows?
I still hear it.
Uno
It
dos.
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Do you not think? I mean, I understand. Yeah, absolutely. You're right. It is because for the past 50 years they've been playing Dungeons and Dragons, and that's why we conflate the two things.
It's really the only standard we have.
Truth.
That's an interesting because it's not just the standard, right? It becomes the litmus in a whole different way because it's always a chasing. And I think as you guys were bouncing around a lot of observations, it kind of, I know I get accused a lot of being the overly player centric one of the lot, but I'm going to go ahead and play that card for a moment. if you think about the nature of how what players are looking to accomplish when they're participating in the games, they want to engage in a myth. They want to be a part of a massive lore and to be
Yeah.
having that sort of epic scope and expanse, as it were, to use
Yep.
that. So, and the problem is that with sci-fi, they're already dwarfed by the scope of it all. Like it's really hard to have your tale feel significant of that on that sort of macro level. Um, and for players who are relatively new to the hobby or relatively inexperienced with the genres, and they what they do is they just latch on to the tropes. They find all the little easy hooks because they think that's how we're supposed to play this sort of game. Um, they don't have the reps. There was the Kuth made a comment that he felt like, okay, we don't have a lot of experience or reps playing this, so it makes it a little bit tougher for us maybe to substantiate. But I would argue that our connections, our engagements, which are a wide swath of people who have similar, 30, 40 years experience, it's very, very hard. It is redhead unicorn hard to find someone who's had 24, 36 months of not some sort of meme game, but a true epic scope of heroic myth in a sci-fi setting. I know a lot of people that run games, not just players that run games. They're not even heartbreaker candidates. There's not even heartbreaker candidates. There's not even those tales of, oh, I tried and failed. Um, so it's kind of a composite problem, right? Because it's what your players are really sometimes seeking. And then there's the fact that, well, sure, there hasn't been a system that's ever really stuck the landing. I would be intrigued, by the way, to use the DCC dice chain with something like that. I feel like there's some unexplored stuff with like Zaki dice, and like you could get something. You could get something a little bit off kilter, but at the same time, then it runs the risk of becoming a novelty. So, like, what are you
Right.
trying to do? Are you trying to achieve a resolution of a situation? Yes. Are you trying to have some sort of a substantive understanding of a
Right.
technology or conflict that is able to accommodate everybody's
Right.
aphantasia? Is that the word? Not that
Yeah.
word. Like, oh, how do I visualize this? How do I visualize this? Such, think about how much the skirmish game of regular traditional fantasy is confined to 50 by 50 spaces or smaller. You're already having to deal with, what does my table state look like? Am I using VTTs? Am I using minis and maps? And are we going to eyeball it with zones? And how does that, but these are
Yeah.
all interesting conundrums. And I think there's no one single root cause on why this genre never really has been truly fully realized on a significant zeitgeist level.
Right.
So
Erudite,
I-
it's both. It's both, and it's awesome. Okay, sorry. Okay, sorry. It's my favorite sci-fi horror movie ever.
It's
I'll
a great
put that.
movie. I don't care what people say. I agree with
I
you,
got to go
Matt.
back and see. I haven't seen it in a long time.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's.
And
I've
I
been
love Sam Neill anyway. So
I've been hunting. Apparently, like the originals, like decayed in some cavern in fucking Ukraine or some shit. So like we'll never know what really happened
The
because
real
they were,
ending.
yeah, because they hired, oh, God, yeah, they hired all kinds of crazy porn actors and shit to do like the. Anyway, long story short, we'll never know. Anyway, I'll be right back. I gotta get a refill.
So Gary,
you don't need
sci-fi
a
horror,
refill.
baby. So Gary, you've settled. You've got something that you want to come back to. Is this something that you think you could sink your hooks into and get 24 sessions out of it?
I don't know. I don't. You know
Depends on the
what?
players, right?
It all depends on the
Okay.
players.
Okay.
You know,
And
are
so
they
and
gonna
so
be
and so
around?
my
Are they
question
gonna?
to
Goes
you
back to that
then
point.
so my question to you then is, I mean, as a game master, and especially from Cloaker's point of view, because he runs games in a more public fashion than say you or I do, Gary.
Right.
Right. The real question is, you've got to serve your audience from his perspective. So if you're you got to serve your audience and give them what they want. How do you give somebody what they want? For guys like you and me who aren't running public tables.
I really don't think it's that hard. I'm gonna tell you the truth. I think
I don't know because I've never done public tables. It might be
Yeah.
much harder than I think.
I don't. Well, no. I guess what I'm saying is I don't think it'd be that hard to get a game. I don't think it's any harder to get a sci-fi game together or keep it together than it is a fantasy game. Here's the
I
thing.
don't know, but
the crowd,
my expectation is that I would disagree with that. But keep going.
well, maybe, but I don't think I hang out with the average gamer. Right? Like
No, you probably don't.
Well, no. What I mean by that is, I think the average gamer has their weekly game. They occasionally buy or read another game and do a one shot or something, but for the most part, they have their game. It's probably Dungeons and Dragons, and they go on about their life. I play with people who are really highly invested in and interested in games in general. So anytime you get something going, there's always something new on the horizon. There's always some new thing that somebody's going to do, or a new game that somebody else is going to have. I don't think people stick with games for years because of the genre. I think people stick with games for years because of the hang. I think the reason games last are more.
What do you mean by hang?
It's more related to the social aspect.
Yeah, company.
No.
Than it is the long games. I do think so, and I think that's why.
Well, I mean, I agree, depending on how you define that.
And I think that's why you see more in-person games lasting longer, whereas we have this new vehicle to play games on computer and over Discord and everything else, and it works fine. I've played 1 million games online.
I think people stick
like
with
Tinder.
games because of investment.
But
time
I
being
agree
the
with that. But
time
I think
being
the
the most
investment,
important one to that.
but I do think
what do you
the
mean by
investment
that,
is
Kyle?
social as well.
What I mean by that is how much of themselves, their time, their energy, their effort they have invested into this particular character, this particular game, or this particular system. People follow their investments. It's the same reason why, and I'm not trying to be misogynistic or sexist here, but you meet a chick, she's been with a loser guy for 10 fucking years, and she doesn't want to leave him because she's got 10 years invested in this dude. Right? So, I mean, you can look at game systems the same way. Maybe it's not the best system. Maybe it's not really what they want. But I've been playing D&D for 10 years. How am I going to move on?
I think you got I got a point there, and I'll bolster that by talking about my in-person gaming group. I think gamers generally are loyal. They're just loyal. They're loyal to their IP.
They're brand loyal.
Yeah, my in-person gaming group wants to play D&D, and we have played. When we got together, it was 2nd edition, 3rd edition. Some of the guys I've known since BX, but generally speaking, 2nd edition, 3rd edition. We spent a lot of money on 4th edition. We spent a lot of money on 5th edition, and it was all about this.
Sucker.
Yeah, I know. Well, I was the first one. I was the first one to finally come out of Plato's cave, right? And be like, these are just shadows on the wall. Holy shit, there's all this other stuff out here. So I think you got a point there. It's about brand loyalty, and I think that's just the nature of the gamer's psyche, right?
It can be. It can also be fear of change. Sometimes it's a little bit of fear of the unknown.
I agree with that too.
I want to address something real quick before we move on, Kyle. And you talked about investment, and I do agree with that. But I think going back to my point from earlier, I think that an in-person game is going to offer a deeper social investment.
It is.
And
I
I think that
100% agree with that.
Oh
and
yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah,
that
yeah.
and I think that social investment, it really has the power to outweigh anything online. Unless you're playing with like personal friends or whatever online that you've known for years or what have you. But
I agree.
I
I will
I
not
think
disagree with you
yeah.
on that.
So there we go. So now me and Kyle agree. Fuck you guys.
Take that,
Oh,
you
that's
rabble
funny.
rousers.
Yeah. So, but I also think the main reason science fiction, yeah, I think the main reason science fiction hasn't caught on the way fantasy gaming has caught on is because it wasn't first. I think
No,
I
no,
think
no. I think
fantasy.
that's fair.
I think that's valid.
I think fantasy gaming. I think if you look at Dungeons and Dragons and then you look at Traveler side by side, let's take
Right.
those as the two, OSR examples of each genre. Then had Traveler come out earlier than Dungeons and Dragons, it might be the game. In fact,
Yeah,
had Traveler
actually,
come out
Well,
earlier
I
than Star Wars and the
Traveler
Star Trek
came out.
movie and everything,
I mean, all due respect though, Traveler and OD&D. I mean, it was practically when did first when did first edition?
70 or late 70s, wasn't it? Or I thought for Traveler, right?
77.
it was Traveler.
I
We're
don't know.
looking at the little black books, the original.
Yeah, yeah.
I
I
thought it
want to
was
say, I mean, that
mid-70s.
was right around AD&D time. So it was 79, 80, 81.
Okay, so
right
a
in
few years
there.
after OD&D.
Yeah, OD&D
Okay.
was
It,
74.
it
All
had
right.
a few years
Maybe I'm
head
getting a little
start.
pedantic. I'll concede. Maybe I'm being.
Well, I mean,
I don't think there was enough of a
but
head
my,
start, though. I mean, I don't think that was the factor. I don't, don't you think
I'm
don't
not
you
so
think
sure.
the wargaming aspect gave it more, not so much time, but the versatility and the utility had already been kind of
You know what the
with
real
the
factor
chainmail
Yeah,
is?
aspect.
Cloaker,
I,
you ever play Old School Traveler, the original?
No, I've never actually played.
Have you ever read the
Traveler.
rules?
No, I haven't.
yes.
Okay. So it is a war gaming influenced product.
Okay.
100%.
Okay.
And while they did some pretty innovative stuff for its time during character creation. When I first picked up that product, I was probably around the age of 13 or 14, so it had been out a while. But I picked up the little black books. If you didn't know some advanced algebra and trigonometry, when it came to like the space travel stuff, as far you could take your ship because you need to harvest hydrogen from a
Yep.
like it didn't have to be a star,
Yeah.
but it needed to be like something like Jupiter, a gas giant, right? And you need to harvest that for fuel, and you need to slingshot yourself around. If I had a hell of a time playing Traveler when I was a kid because I didn't understand things like advanced trigonometry and how you slingshot yourself around a gravity giant or focus and stuff like that. That's in the fucking rules.
Wow.
I mean, it was very much a wargaming kind of thing, but on a science fiction level.
I would
My real question to Gary is if science fiction is more popular than fantasy, regardless of who.
More popular. Did I say it was more popular? I might have. You never know. I've been drinking. Go ahead. I said it. Fuck it. I said it.
Okay, if that's the statement, then
I have no idea what's going on.
In general,
in general, because I mean, people watch Star Trek, people watch Star Wars. There's more people watching that than say, okay,
Hawks is Slayer.
then why aren't there more people playing science fiction games?
I don't know.
Why are they all playing fantasy? They love Star Trek and they love Star Wars, but they're playing D&D. Why?
I think that, and I've said this before, I think that fantasy lends itself to this kind of game for probably real practical reasons. I think
I got an answer for you too, but keep going.
Yeah, but when you look at like D&D, guns can break shit. canons can break shit. You know, rules wise, it does a thing. D&D was first. It does it well. There's really no issue with it. I really think that's part of it. And I think the sci-fi rules that, you know, came out, like you were talking about how crunchy Traveler was, I don't think they were very inviting to new players. Yeah, I think vehicle rules are a big part of it too. I think when people play sci-fi games, they want to do like fighter, you know, combat and stuff. And
Can I
think those
offer an
rules go
alternate
away.
explanation for as
Yeah,
to
go for
why
it.
fantasy? Because it
Sure.
accomplishes the goals of what players want.
Yeah, goes back to the myth. Yep.
Because even though people are more people watch Star Wars and watch Star Trek or Dune or Babylon 5 or whatever, and Lord of the Rings still has influence and they love that sort of thing too, but the popularity of a thing, the sci-fi fantasy RPG smorgasbord doesn't give the consumer what they want.
Well, it's a whole different type of power creep, isn't it? Right? I mean, it's like whenever it's like 19 different types of peanut butter. You know.
Yeah, Kyle. I'm so glad you came on the show. I don't think I've ever had a guest I've disagreed with more.
I appreciate you, man, but fuck you.
I think everything you fucking said is wrong.
Let me be in here, but go fuck yourself. Yeah.
I don't know what you're thinking, you guys over at that other fucking show. What are y'all even talking about?
What other fucking show? Do you mean the best show on the internet? Nerd Cognito? Check us out, Nerd Cognito, live on the Saturday Speakeasy every 5 p.m. Eastern on Rumble.
Ting.
No, I think other games can give those same things. I think really the reason people go back to fantasy is that it was their first, it's comfortable, it is the predominant game.
But it wasn't first, man. I'm 50. I'm almost 56 years old. It was 52. My first. What, how old are you?
Shit, 52.
Okay, so it was your first.
52 in May.
But 30-year-old Tyler down the fucking street with his septum piercing. Yeah, it's not his first.
But it's you're gonna go to the original. You're gonna go to the brand name.
I don't think Tyler will because he thinks I'm an old, bigoted, racist white male.
No. Tyler's always gonna go to the brand name. Don't you understand who Tyler is?
Tyler's gonna go where Matt Mercer tells him to go.
Tyler seeks acceptance and belonging through shared brand logos on merchandise. All right, they're going to go to D&D. D&D is always going to be first. It's always going to be biggest. That's why when I hear all these fucking grumpy old men talking about, I fucking hope D&D dies. No, you don't. No, you don't.
That was I do want D&D to die.
Across the bow.
No, you
cannonball.
I've been drinking too much. I'll be back again.
He just did the thing. There he goes.
Yeah, okay. No, it's all right. It's okay. Gary chose violence. I do think Dungeons and Dragons should die because it is no longer representing.
Why is that even? Why is that even a remotely constructive?
I was literally about to explain it when you interrupted me. Because it is no longer representing the type of adventure, story, emergent or otherwise, that spawned the game. It's
how do you know that? How do you quantify that?
How do I quantify it?
This logic is like
look
me
at all
walking down
the people.
It's like me walking down to the grocery store.
Oh my
and
God!
being like, I fucking hope all this goddamn honey wheat bread dies and this company goes under because I hate honey wheat.
Blah 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 blah. Okay, how do I quantify it? I look at all of the people who were playing from 1970 through 2000 who are saying this is not the game.
Looking at them. You're visibly looking at them.
What?
You're looking at all the people. What you're visibly looking at these people that have played the game, and you're quantifying it based upon this visual image of these people.
Yeah. This is not the game that was presented by TSR. Now, like there's guys like Driving and Dragons. I was just on a stream with him. He's a big fan of 3.5. Okay. He's a big fan of 3.5. You know, but he is still embracing a lot of like these like old school concepts. So
I'm so rebelling against all this old school bullshit. I'm done with it.
oh, Jesus.
I mean, it's so funny because
I'm so fucking
Rob
done.
and I have been kind of going and having a little sidebar conversation because I was bouncing one of my journey systems off of him because Rob and I are both in agreement that we like 5.5e. There are things that we enjoy about it, and we have run and enjoyed every bit the same amount of successful games in that system as in the other. Now, maybe there's some anomaly aspect there, or maybe you want to go ahead and have some chagrin there. But I think it's not constructive, to Gary's point, to say this thing needs to go away in order for anything else to be successful. Like, we've been down these roads before, and whenever you start having this nihilistic view of the thing that begat it all, I mean, it's kind of like, why would you want to kill the goose that lays the eggs, even if they are eggs of rebellion? You need those eggs.
You know what, Brian? I fucking like you
I
never
sort of
say
feel like-
anything good on this stream, but just now you earned your wings. God damn it! It's like the bell.
I just want to
I
point out,
prefer it to be
earning
cloaker
your
flaps.
wings.
Just like
I've earned my
the
cloaker.
first
My
good
cloaker
thing
No,
you
no,
ever
no.
said.
Cloaker,
No,
you've
no,
always
no, no,
sucked,
no.
but you know what? Right now, you were okay.
Yeah. No, earning your wings is you're agreeing with Gary. All right, whatever. Okay, you know what?
I think I do have the one thing that we can all agree on, and then I'm going to go ahead and bow out. But I do want to. I think I do have an answer, and we've spent 2 hours trying to come up with an answer, but I got it.
There's
And when
no
I
answer.
say it, no, I have an answer. You want to
No,
hear it?
we're awash in an endless
No.
sea of nothingness.
I have an answer for the
I wanna
no
hear- I wanna-
meaning
I've
to
got it.
anything.
I want to hear
got it.
what Cloaker has to say.
I think that there is an answer out
Death
there
at zero.
for a system and a vehicle and a talent that could actually make this all work.
Well, I appreciate your support, sir.
If there was,
Oh, okay.
instead of
It's not me.
adventurer,
Never mind.
conqueror, king,
Yeah.
if there was a Macrease system that was done with the same level of clinical detail and passion, rooted in something that makes sense, I think
Fuck
that
no.
fella could pull it off.
God
I think
damn,
he
you
could
got
pull it off.
stupid again. Here's the thing. That is, you just
so
fucking
fickle,
lost
isn't
it,
he?
Brian. It's
You
like,
understand what I'm
goddamn,
dealing
like,
with there?
But I
You were
expect you to feel
almost
that
there,
way,
young
Gary, because
Padawan.
you're playing in fuzzy dice
No.
land, right?
well,
You've got
what
your
I'm, no,
you've
no,
got your
no. I don't
little
want
thumping
fuzzy
bass,
dice. And I
and you
don't
got
want
your
No,
fuzzy dice
I
with the
think
signature.
Brian's right on this. I think
What I'm saying is that
Macrease
I
genius.
agree. The only way that any sci-fi game is going to be respected by the OSR crowd is if somebody like Macrease does something like that. But that's not
No,
what everybody's looking
no,
for.
No, we're looking for something that makes sense. And
And I think that
Traveler has
what
done
I
it.
find.
Now, the question is,
here's
the problem
thing.
is,
Here's the
problem
here's
is
the weird thing.
people want to be, and I'm quoting
got
one
dudes
of our,
who-
no, hey, hold up a second. One of our viewers actually quoted me, and I wanted to highlight this. He said, everyone wants to be hard sci-fi until it's time to be hard sci-fi.
I don't want to be hard.
Traveler does it. But it's like it's not good enough
What?
because people want the fantasy, which is Star Wars, and Star Wars isn't sci-fi. So
What?
here's the thing.
Fucking. I
No,
don't
no,
understand.
stop,
I'm having a
stop.
This is where I
disconnect.
agree with you, Matthew. Absolutely. This goes back to the
I'm having a
mythos.
complete
What
disconnect here
players want.
because
No.
I got a bunch of motherfuckers who are willing to play a game with magic and fairies and fucking centaurs and cyclops and all kinds of
Right.
shit.
Yes.
Right.
But
Now
as
what's the
soon as
second
you
half?
say but as soon as you say the word spaceship, like everything's got to fucking make sense.
Yeah, because it's science.
Bro,
Not
get
spaceship.
the
Rooted in the
fuck
real.
If I
out
ask
of
my
here.
wife, if I ask my
You
ladies' table to
fucking
tell, if I ask for them
geek.
to imagine what a
You're
Trandoshan
talking
is,
about the
I
difference
promise you,
between a blue
a
shirt
table of
and a
I'm
white
sorry.
ladies
The fucking,
trying to be
oh
able
my
to
God.
connect. If
Nobody
I
can
ask
understand
them,
what any of us are saying
if
right
I
now. Garrett,
ask my ladies'
Welcome to the
table,
second watch.
if I ask my ladies' table to tell me what they picture whenever I tell them that they see a Trandoshan, I'm telling you, no, Gary, it's not like that. It's not that free assimilation.
Well,
A
you would
majority
never
of
tell somebody you see a Trandoshan that doesn't know what a Trandoshan is, and just let
right?
it hang.
Okay,
You would fucking describe it. I mean, what
sure.
the fuck? Like, of
So,
course.
and let's take that for
Like,
a
it's the
minute.
same
And I
way as if you
promise
told
you,
somebody there's a fucking. I would never
20
say
sessions
there's a
later,
troll under the
my
bridge.
wife,
I would say there's this
Michelle,
big fucking
Maria,
thing with
they
one
are
tooth.
not going to
I
remember
would,
Trandoshan after 20 sessions. They'll
I
remember
think
dwarf.
but they will if
They'll
you do
remember
it
bugbear.
right. They will if you do it right. Because
No,
here's
they
the
won't.
thing. They don't know
they won't.
owlbear or bugbear or any of that fucking shit either.
Oh, strangely
When they got
enough, my
into
wife
it,
does.
they just learned some fucking shit. They learned a
No.
name for some imaginary thing that you
No.
told them about. What is the difference between you doing that for a fantasy game and you doing that for a sci-fi game? And instead of describing dwarves, you describe a fucking Wookiee.
Gary, can you
What
name
is
what?
the difference?
Because you're probably very qualified on this. What is the single greatest resource bestiary ever released for a tabletop sci-fi RPG? I'd love to see it.
I don't think that's the thing. Is the sci-fi is not about the monsters. Sci-fi is largely human.
I think we identified one failure
And
point.
it's largely
That's
human
there.
centric.
You just hit on the.
Human,
You just hit
and
on
a
the
lot
key,
of times it's
Gary.
human versus human,
You just hit on the key.
faction versus faction.
It is
Yeah.
human centric,
Right.
and that's not what the consumer wants.
Well, the consumers
Even
fucking
if it's
And I don't know if that's the real reason.
fucking skin suit.
Kyle,
That's-
I would even
tonight was
offer.
going to
I
be
don't
the
know
night
if
when we were going to
GMs
talk about all the cool shit about sci-fi role-playing games.
We did.
No, we haven't.
There's some
Fuck
great-
you
we
guys.
totally
You
There's
have.
great
fucking
science
negative
fiction
ass
role playing games
Just
out
go
there.
sit on
They're
your porch
awesome.
and yell at the kids while
We'll-
they
and
walk
we'll-
home from school.
We will know that one's arrived, I'm sure, when we find a bestiary of
I want to hear.
magnificent design.
I want to hear
I-
Cloaker.
Bestiary-
I
think
want to hear
Bestiary-
Cloaker agree with me, Gary. Shut up.
I think
And I just want to.
I think we've all
Bestiary
kind
is
of agreed with each other.
I'm titling this episode "The Second Watch in Space." Old men yell at clouds. Continue.
But a bestiary is that is a fantasy. That is something with fantasy role-playing games. Right? A bestiary, as a lot of times in science fiction games, you're dealing, like I say, you're dealing with
That's hard to
humans,
argue with.
dealing with factions, or you're dealing with other races. You're not dealing with some random fucking, whatever out in the woods.
Okay. So now we're getting to the nature of conflict, right? We're
Thank
getting
you,
to the nature
Warped
of conflict.
Plot.
And
Love you,
so
brother.
your bestiary is just a bunch of administrators or technicians or pilots and so
Or
there's
aliens,
all these
or what have you. But
so
you're not,
here we go. Aliens, robots, ninjas. Aliens, robots, ninjas. These are the worst skin suits that you'll ever find in role-playing games. We just have these
Eat a
generic
dick, you're so
enemies.
fucking wrong,
And so
dude.
the nature of,
Goddamn,
of
dude.
fantasy mythical creatures, bestiaries,
Pour a
invites
barrel of
so
dicks
much
down your throat right now. I
power.
swear to
A
God.
cloaker is the reason why I play this game. Now, if a cloaker would have been experienced in some sci-fi game, if I would have played Star Frontiers and a cloaker killed me in Star Frontiers, maybe I'm a totally different person in gaming
So it's
this
not
time.
that you
from
don't.
1980.
It's
know
not
what he's
that you
talking
But-
don't
No,
have
no,
monsters
no.
in
Let him
sci-fi.
cook.
I think Brian's hitting on something.
So I'll just leave it this because I think everybody's right, by the way, to some degree, because it is such a passionate topic, which tells us how desperate everybody is to be able to enjoy this sort of thing. But you take something like a cloaker, it's so evocative. It draws in. Now, sure, you have the occasional Star Wars. Pulp fantasy, by the way, Kyle, was the best definition. It is the purest, best definition of why and how that's able to hook in Gary right now, because he's hooked into Star Wars right now. He's not talking about doing The Expanse. He's not talking about doing Total Recall, Everyday Heroes. He's not talking about doing Highlander even. He's talking about Star Wars. He's talking about
I
Star
was
Wars.
actually, this was supposed to be about sci-fi in general, but Star
Right, but
Wars
what-
always tends to be the.
But what'd
fucking
you
thing
talk
in the
about,
room.
Gary? You talked about Star
Because
Wars.
that's where it starts, and then it gets to.
Is that where it ends?
Is sci-fi?
It's not
Is this sci-fi? Is this not sci-fi?
Yeah, but you
Every
open the
fucking
door
time
when
we
you
try to do
introduce
it.
Star Wars.
Because you can't, but you have to talk about it. You have to.
Yeah, and then you
And
say,
especially
"Oh,
if
it's
you're looking
not
at the history,
sci-fi,
if you're
let's
looking at
move
the
on."
history
You have to talk about it, but you don't have to
talk.
lead with it.
Motherfucker, we spent the whole. It's not like I'm the only one here. God damn it! I've been talking to at least 2 other people since this shit fucking started.
We
So
ain't
all
been
I'm
talking to me.
saying-
Talk to the
you-
hand, mother.
Hey, it's not like you just got here. All I'm saying is, God damn, holy shit, man!
I'm fucking with you, Gary. I
I've
love you,
been talking
man.
about- so, but you do have to talk about it from, if you're talking about science fiction gaming in a historical perspective, you have to talk about Star Wars. You can't not talk about it. And Brian, I think that's great that you like monsters so much. Awesome.
I think it's great.
It's not just me though.
I think it's great.
My
Good for
players, my niece, if I run a game with her, she's going to get way more attached
Right.
to an owlbear than something I try to explain to her. Yeah, I think it's the wonderment of it all, right?
The owlbear
With-
isn't even like, you can't like
Oh no!
open
Don't
up a
attack the
fairy
owlbear. My
tale
wife will
book.
come in and start kicking down the door.
But
and
what I'm saying, oh God, and who gives a fuck what girls think when you come to role playing games? I don't give a fuck.
most of my,
Oh,
my
shit.
tables are almost 50%
Oh,
female.
shit. Here we go.
Both
Here we
public
go.
and home.
Give a
Oh.
fuck, dude.
Man,
Oh,
if you don't make
shit.
us short of that right there alone, I'm going to be very disappointed in you.
I don't care what the girls think when it comes to role playing games.
Can
Don't
we go
give
to
a fuck.
chat for a little bit so that they can get us all back to?
I want to say one thing, Gary. Number one, I love you. I really, really do. And he's laughing because I said that. But
I love you too. No, I'm just laughing.
I really think that we're in a position where, you know, if sci-fi is so popular but people aren't playing it, there must be a reason why.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so the reason why comes down to what the consumer or the audience wants. And the audience wants, for lack of a better term, they want the ability to become heroes. And so why Star Wars was so powerful was this sort of throw whatever you want at me, but this sort of hero's journey. The sort of what you mentioned myth earlier in one of your comments, and one of your digressions, I might say. Myth is really what it's about. We live in a world where society
sci-fi when you said that. I'm sorry. It sounded so sci-fi. We live in a world.
We
Sorry,
live
continue. That was good.
we live in a world where
That's good.
like I'm the theater trailer guy, but we really do live in a world where society has constrained the human spirit so much. I mean, I know it personally. I go to work, I come home, I'm working on stuff, I'm so exhausted, mentally I'm drained. I don't have much creativity left to pour into a Word document or a page or a dungeon map or whatever I'm doing. And everybody feels that way. It's a byproduct of living in a modern state. And so people want a moment to escape. And when they want to escape, they want to experience, and it's built into our DNA, this sort of oral tradition of the shamans and the elders explaining to us and telling us about the old ways and the hero's journey.
You really hit.
Maybe
on
I've been drinking too much,
No,
but
no.
really,
I think you hit on something
No,
because it's
I
the
think
nature
you're
of
hitting
creation and
something
participation.
primordial.
So you have this seesaw effect of, if we're talking about the gaming aspect, sure, but we're also talking about just the thematics of it all, right? So creation, it's hard sometimes to go into something that's sci-fi and feel like a creator. It's so much easier to enjoy it as a participant, being a participant in it.
right?
So, but the other thing, and I'm surprised actually now, 2 hours and 20 minutes into this, we haven't actually brought it up. The game that's outselling Shadow Dark is Starfinder. So there is an audience out there.
Yeah.
There is a game that is successful. Why are we not looking at that? Why are we, is it some sort of piezo bias piezo bias?
I
That's
can't-
exactly what that shit is.
Okay, it might be.
I
It might be.
Exactly.
I don't know the answer to that particular question, but I think from a psychological perspective, going out, Kyle, by the way, great analysis.
It's great.
The fantasy, like I said, and I've been saying, there's like this very tenuous connection to the real, and that allows us to have some sort of sense of, this could be a thing, this could be something we are experiencing. It helps us with immersion, blah blah blah. And then you have sci-fi games. You want the connection to the real is a little bit more profound. I think, where was I going with this? Oh, I think what we're seeing is there's just fuck, I just lost my train of thought. You know what? Go ahead, Gary. Fuck it.
How old are you? How old are you, Matt?
I am almost
in whiskey years. It's a different answer.
Yeah, no, I know.
That's true. Well, listen.
You're almost as old as me. I do that all the time.
I'm assuming we're wrapping this up.
Where am I?
We're all.
I know. Oh my god. Hey, you know the thing? Hey, come on. What's up, guys? Hey.
Who's this scary guy?
Oh, hey.
Who's that? Why am I wearing this underwear?
So I really like sci-fi role-playing games. I think they're fun. It's my favorite genre.
Is it?
It is.
Oh,
It is.
$250,000 right now is where Traveler 5e is at, with 34 days left. It has 1,478 backers. Now, if we want to extrapolate that and say, I don't know, 4 people a table, don't get me wrong, $500,000 is great. 1,478 people right now backing a 5th edition of what is the game that we all keep talking about right now as kind of the GOAT, maybe, in as much as there might be one. It does kind of
too many. That has too many asterisks, Brian. That has too many asterisks.
No, it doesn't, because you just do the simple. No, it doesn't, Gary, because you do the simple fucking math, dude. I got news for you. I know what Cloaker's getting at. That ain't shit.
Game with the same title.
It ain't shit
from the
Gary.
same company.
It ain't shit. How many fucking people play D&D?
Granted, D&D is like 95% of the market. Absolutely.
Right.
They get 95%. Right. Absolutely. But
real quick, we got a $5 super chat from Robert Stanton.
Come on,
Sorry, I got to interrupt, brother. Fuck it, I'm going to watch. Hey, brother, I'm glad you're staying up, bro, because I know you were going to sign off.
Robert, you're going to second watch.
If you're going to compare that Kickstarter to other Kickstarters, you have to take into account that it is the second game with the same name from the same company, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at a 5-player table right now, 1,478 backers, you're talking less than 7,500 people worldwide.
And worldwide.
Worldwide.
Well, and
right
it
now
is
for that game,
though, because Mongoose is putting out the hardcover Travelers with the nice artwork and everything else, and I'm sure that has a lot more people.
It looks incredible. I don't know if you've looked at the backer.
That's the thing. They're doing a Kickstarter, but Mongoose will get major distribution.
Right.
Whereas Kelsey Dion or the Arcane Library might not, right? So that's the really big difference here. Is you can back the Kickstarter and maybe they funded, but the distribution is really where the key is.
This is full circle actually, because at my game store, to kind of go back to Mothership, it's the only game that I've seen there to be a lot of spirited interest in, and they ordered retail copies, so there's hope. It's out there. It's grassroots like anything else in the hobby that's not the Goliath, but it helps that there's this sort of passion. And if we can just get to an agreement, I guess, a little bit, quit arguing the semantics of what it is or isn't in terms of genre, and just play the damn game.
I disagree with that actually.
All the backers on Twitter, and 75% of them have blocked me.
We want people to argue because that's where innovation resides.
But is innovation right now what's needed for a sci-fi RPG to stick?
Absolutely.
I would argue no genre has more innovation over the last 50 years than probably sci-fi TTRPGs. They can't stick the landing.
No, I would say.
Why is that, Cloaker?
I would say that some of that is on the business end, though.
Well,
no.
Kyle, to your point,
I think it's talk about myth.
Well, it is the myth of it, the player base, and the interest in that, being able to cultivate that in terms of an epic scope, right? There's that. There's another. It's a much bigger albatross or rancor. I'll put it as is just the uphill battle against the big IPs. When you have such a stranglehold, look, we lament Wizards of the Coast and 5e and all that such, and what it means systemically. Culturally within these systems and such, anything that's not Star Wars, Star Trek, or attached to some of the big, there's not a lot of people out there looking for a generic. I know people are looking. It's so sweet. They're so cute with their GURP stuff and everything. That's adorable. But the thing is that look, GURPS was that girl, and now it's the little red hair girl. The Charlie Brown, the whatever. I don't know. Anyway, I wasn't trying to diminish it.
Oh, but you did. That's okay.
But y'all know what I mean. So
it's okay because it was funny.
Yeah.
I have the germ of my next sci-fi campaign forming. It will.
Oh, really? Cool. Problems. There's like 5 people interested, Gary. Everybody else wants to play D&D.
Kyle.
All right. One of my favorite people is
I'm going to show up on your show drunk one day. I swear to God.
One of my favorite people is quite active on my Discord server, Warp Plots. Yeah, he's constantly running games, especially for Mothership. Cloaker is like a young Padawan trying to fight 3 drunk Jedi Masters, one of whom is an angry Wookiee.
Who's the angry Wookiee?
I don't know who the angry
Wookiee is. Or Wookiee.
I'm guessing it's Gary.
I don't know. Angry Wookiee is pretty funny.
I don't know why everybody's so mad at me just because y'all are fucking wrong and I'm right about whatever the fuck it is. Let's just be mad.
Okay.
God damn.
I don't think we've come to any consensus, but that's okay. That's
no, we haven't.
The show. No. We have gone well beyond the show's typical stop time. So I think is our watch ended, guys?
We're 3 minutes away from midnight Central, and I know you've been up. And Kyle, by the way, thanks for jumping in, brother. This is
bro.
Super cool.
Dude,
thanks for inviting me.
Bro, you have an open invitation, number one. Number two, I constantly hear from you on X. Oh, I don't know if I'm going to make it, but you guys should watch it. Number one, I appreciate you doing that. Number two, I'm like, this guy's going to be in chat. And you are. So
I've become that predictable.
Yeah. So I thank you for joining us. This has been a fun conversation.
I love being here, and I thank you for
we didn't
shooting
talk
me
about
the invite.
anything I wanted to talk about. So we may have sci-fi discussion part 2 in the coming weeks.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
in space, everybody can hear Gary scream part 2.
That's the name of the stream. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna share too.
Hey, if you have not, and I don't know how you could not possibly have heard of this, but Nerd Cognito has a speakeasy. That's what they call it. It's on Rumble. Saturday afternoons, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yep.
It's a great time. I try to be in chat all as much as I can.
I know you do.
Dying Breed, Kyle here is the co-host with Ryan. It's a fun effing time. They talk about the hobby. They talk about all the cool stuff.
We talk about a lot of stuff. You never know what you're going to get. You may get games. You may get what our favorite soup is.
Yes.
You may get fast food places. You never know what you're going to get, but it's always a fun time. You can also listen to us. You can always. We started as an audio podcast. You can always catch our audio podcast on the podcast provider of your choice. Currently, we are partnered with Spotify and Rumble, and you can watch live video podcasts there on both of those. We are very proud to be in the top 25% of all audio podcasts on Spotify.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So, I mean, how can a billion Chinese people be wrong, right? Or how can a million AI bots be wrong, right? Tune in and check us out. We'd love to see you there. Join the chat on Rumble. Listen to us on the podcast provider of your choice, nerdcognito.com and at nerdcognito on X or Twitter.
Kyle, thank you so much for being here. Gary, any last thoughts about this topic? Other than we're all wrong.
I haven't got to some of my first thoughts about this topic. Let me just say, first off.
Okay, I'll just pour the rest of the bottle in now, Gary. Keep going.
Yeah.
Should we go another? Honestly, I'm willing to go another half hour.
No.
I would go another 30.
We're not going another.
No.
We're not going. No,
Okay.
we're not going.
Okay.
We will make it
Post
Pussy.
game. Post
Pussy.
I'm gonna go pour a drink, motherfucker.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, this has been a great stream. I hope you learned something. Whatever, chat's been great. We really appreciate your super chats. We really appreciate your comments. We really appreciate your questions and thoughts and whatever. Game Mastery is about conversation, and this has been one of the great ones. We haven't had one of these in a while, so I appreciate it. But that being said, our watch is ended.
Yeah.
I'll see you guys next week. Take care, everyone. Happy gaming.
It felt like we were more productive because Greg wasn't here.
We're on the fucking stream.
I know.
He derails us. He's
I know.
such a good derailer. So,